All right, we're going to start recording. All right, welcome everybody. I think everybody's here except for Dan, who is going to be late. He said, I talked to him earlier, he said he's going to be maybe a half an hour. He's going to try and get here as quickly as he can. So in the meantime, we will go ahead and begin. Lots of things going on. So as you guys well know, last time we played it was about 3 weeks ago. Lots of things going on. What do you guys see on your screen? I'm sharing a screen. What do you guys see? Do you see a picture of a lady in a helmet?
Yep, lady in a helmet.
Yes. Perfect. Okay, so that's exactly what I want you to see. So that is Queen Galfrey of Mendev. Who has Galfrey? Not Gallifrey.
Ask her if she's wearing a helmet.
Yeah, she is the
she's not a Time Lord.
The pale queen of Mendev. She's not a Time Lord, as far as you know. Galfrey, not Gallifrey. That's her surname is Galfrey. She arrived in Kenebres after you guys finished the affair with the Grey Garrison, blew up the Wardstone, ruined the Wardstone network, and were celebrated as both heroes and vilified as villains at the same time. And Queen Galfrey came and basically was like, I want to meet the people who were able to pull off this job. Those of you, did you guys read my email? I apologize for the lengthiness of
it. But I'm sure it wasn't undeserved, but why are we vilified?
Oh, well, so what had happened was, basically, when you guys destroyed the fragment of the Wardstone in the Grey Garrison, which you had been asked to do, it essentially fed back all of that magical energy back into the Wardstone network itself. So what Arilu Vorlesh was planning was to corrupt that piece of Wardstone, because it was still connected to the network. That was broken, but it was still a channel into the Wardstone network. And what she had planned to do was use these Nihydrian crystals, which she had been collecting in the Abyss. And once she'd had them, she was going to come back, do some magical shit, and essentially corrupt the entire network. What she was hoping to do was similar to what you guys had eventually did, which was create a feedback loop within all the Wardstones around the entirety of the network. And that feedback loop with the Nihydrian crystals and some devil magic would have caused a lot of pain and suffering when those Wardstones blew up. By you guys going in there with the Rod of Cancellation and getting to it before she did, you caused a similar kind of network feedback loop and ultimately destroyed the Wardstone network throughout the entirety of the World Wound area. However, in this case, it fed back in ways that hurt the demons that were surrounding them, as opposed to the Crusaders that were defending those things. So essentially, there were the two competing plans to sort of feed back through the network. You guys got there first with the mostest, blew up the network, which means that a lot of those little cities around the edge of the World Wound are now relatively defenseless, at least from a magical standpoint. Remember, the Wardstone network had protected these cities for almost 2 decades. Now that network is gone, but it also has certainly set the cause of the Abyssals back a little bit, especially in Kenebres, where they hope to strike the hardest.
At least temporarily, we saved thousands of lives of all the guys who were standing around by the Wardstones when it would have blown, right?
Right, exactly. Now they don't know that. All they know is, a lot of the rank and file. All they know is that, you guys came in and blew out the Wardstone network. Yeah, exactly. You guys blew out the Wardstone network. Now they don't. In other towns, they don't even know that. Some of the guys here in Kenebres know what happened, but most, if not all of them, are basically of the mind that it was the right thing. Certainly.
Most of the great heroes are misunderstood, right? So.
Yeah, exactly. Irabet, Tirablade, and Quidness have been sort of obviously promoting the idea that you guys have done the city of Kenebres and, frankly, the entire crusading effort a huge service. That has put to rest a lot of that loose chatter. So you find yourselves at Defender's Heart in Kenebres. The demons have essentially been repulsed for the most part. There's a lot of mop-up going on. People are beginning to start to come out of their homes where they've been hiding. They start to flow back in to to the city. But even so, this was a city that once was home to probably 15,000 people, and even after a couple of days of people, coming out, making themselves known, and that kind of stuff, you're basically seeing something that is about 6,500 people tops. It's not a lot. And so what's happened is you've seen, essentially the population of the city has been reduced. A lot of the city is devastated, from the depredations of not only of the event that took place a mere 2 weeks ago, in game time, but also from the initial attack of the demons, which took out the Silver Dragon, among other things, and but also the constant depredations of the demons as they inhabited the old city and forayed into various areas to try and attack the Crusaders. This is a city that is torn by war. But it is coming back. It's funny when cities like this come back. They come back relatively quickly, or surprisingly quickly, actually. You go out on the street on the third day after after the end of the Great Garrison. Crusaders have been chasing down loose demons and chasing them out of the city. You're seeing shops and markets begin to open back up. Caravans begin to come in from the west and the Mendevian hinterlands, bringing foods and stuff, like almost as if they had been waiting to see what happens before they come in. So suddenly you've got certainly not as much as before, but certainly you have a return of fresh food, things coming in, from outside. Trade is beginning to start back up. All these things are beginning to start again, despite the damage to the city. On the third day, after you guys come back, obviously the Queen Galfrey and her army shows up in Canebras to relieve the otherwise beleaguered Crusaders, who have given so much, and her army brings in. She's there for a day or so before she gets around to talking to you guys, but it's not too long before you receive messages. That Queen Galfrey requests the pleasure of your company. She wants a debriefing. She wants to know what happened, which is pretty obvious. So you guys get in there, and she has a lot to say. It was in the email, but I'll go through it real quick. Basically, she sits you down. Wine is brought. Irabet is there. Also, Quednus is there. They obviously are there to fill in the blanks of your story, talk about the strategy and things like that, and essentially you spend probably an hour to 2 hours debriefing the Queen and her senior advisors. Eventually, once she hears your story, she begins to speak. She says, "While there are some narrow-minded souls among the Crusade who blame you for the destruction of the Wardstone border, I don't begrudge you for what you did. Far from it. From the sound of it, you saved entire legions of Crusaders from the most vile fate by preventing our Rilu Vorlesh from transforming them, and the blast of energy gave us the time we needed to regroup and prepare for what will certainly come next. But you understand the implications of what you've done, I'm sure. The Wardstones are gone, but Iomedae has seen fit that you will be their replacement. I can think of no other reason that would explain why you have had the success that you've had. In time, the demons will regroup and reorganize. We can trust their inherent chaos to make this period of regrouping longer than it would otherwise take, but we shouldn't underestimate them. They'll be back soon enough. Already, I've had reports from along the front lines that small groups of demons are attacking fortifications and settlements along the southern border. But what intrigues me most is news from several reliable sources that our fiendish enemies are starting to mass in the southern reaches of the Rift Shadow within the World Wound. They've left several of their northern lairs relatively unprotected. Let's take a quick look at the map. And as you can see, my game night thing has crashed. So I'll be right there momentarily. And at which point we will look at the map. They've left several of their northern lairs unprotected. Hold on a second. In particular, the fiend Aponavicius has taken the bulk of her army from Citadel Drazen, leaving it only moderately protected as she joins the Storm King and is to no doubt plot greater attacks with larger targets like Narosan, Karsau, and beyond. Let me show you the map very quickly. We'll go to the World Wound map. Can you all see it? Can you see the map?
As far as you know.
All right. Is it on the thing there? Hold on a sec. All right. So you can see the map. We are in Kenebris, obviously, right here. The World Wound Network, you can see the World Wound sort of aligns with the with this river system that kind of wraps itself around the area. What Queen Galfrey is describing is you're seeing the massing of troops near Underin here, Storasta, and across the rivers from Narosin, which is the capital of Mendev. But because of that, they're removing troops from the north, especially from around Citadel Drazen, which she feels the time is right to strike into their territory. Citadel Drazen was the first of our cities to fall after the First Crusade, and we lost more than our kin and our pride that day. We lost the Sword of Valor, a magical banner carried by the Inheritor herself during the Shining Crusade. The Inheritor is another name for Iomedae. If Drazen could be retaken and the Sword of Valor once again be held by the Crusade, well, I trust I don't need to explain how well that would affect morale. But with imminent attacks along the southern border, I can't spare many to lead an assault on Drazen. And even if I could, a large army attacking the city would only draw Aponavicius back to defend it. The obvious tactic is to send in a group of capable men and women with a modest but well-trained army to strike while the proverbial iron is hot. And this is why I've sought you out. If you lot can retake Drazen, reclaim the Sword of Valor, not only will you silence the fools who would brand you traitors for destroying the Wardstones, but most importantly, you would bolster the entire war effort with your heroism. And I feel we need all the bolstering we can get. And I know that Flashheart had a question.
No, I was asking where Castle Drazen was because I didn't see the word castle, but I see it now.
It's the Citadel. It's to the north.
It's
to the north of Kenebris. It is on the other side of the I believe it's the Allen River, in the World Wound proper. It has been within the borders of the World Wound for the last 40 years.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting place to be, but relatively undefended. So she tells you that obviously you are new to Kenebris and have fallen into the role of knights and crusaders, both unwittingly and frankly probably unwillingly. But it's time we made things official. So if you wouldn't mind, and she stands up and she reaches over to this guy who's also one of her advisors, who pulls out a sword like nothing you have ever seen before. This is a long sword of elven make, but the last half of it, probably third of it, seems to be invisible. You can't see it. It looks, at first you're like, well, this is a weird short sword, but you think that there's an actual sword there that extends outward into the astral plane or the ethereal plane.
Badass.
Yeah. So she takes the sword from him, and she's like, Flashheart, you begin to go up, and she's like, no need to. And she steps behind each of you, and she lays the haft of the sword on each of your shoulders and says, in the name of Queen Galfrey, you are now a Knight Crusader. And she says this around each of you, dubbing you each Knight Crusaders of the Mendevian army. She gives the sword back to the guy and sits back down and says, well, now that it's formal, you are now Knights and Crusaders attached to the Mendevian army. Congratulations. And she sort of smiles a wry smile. I know you have a lot of questions about Citadel Drazen and what I'm asking you to do. But before we get to that, there's a couple of things we should do. So first things first, you've all made it to 4th level, and I'm very curious, as your DM, as to what you have done with it. So let's real quick before we move on with the stuff. I want to hear what So how many of you actually passed from 3rd to 4th between last time we played and this time? Because I know that some of you were already 4th, I believe, right?
I don't think I was 4th yet.
Okay. I know Chuck wasn't either.
No.
Okay, well, tell you what, Chuck, since you sent me Lothar's sheet, why don't you tell us real quick, about, if to the extent that you wish to, what was it that has changed for Lothar the Red since he became 4th level?
Fourth is not really a huge level for cleric, so hit points and a couple extra spells is about it. But
Okay.
4th level is, because of his domain, the one that he gets an animal companion.
Oh, okay. So, and did you choose one?
Yeah, he has. What's that?
I said Otto was lonely.
Well, I figured we have a cat and we have a rat, so we needed something in between for the food chain, so I now have an owl.
That's splendid. An owl, animal companion. Does the owl have a name?
Sigurd.
Sigurd the owl. I love it. This is fantastic. All right, very cool. Flash Art, what about you? What changed for you as a paladin of Iomedae between 3rd and 4th level?
Well, I say as an aside here, this is kind of quest is right up Flash Art's alley here.
Oh yeah.
So I will convey on behalf of the party, of course, that there has never been a more worthy group, Fellowship of Unwitting Participants as us.
That's
a good name, the Fellowship of Unwitting Participants.
That is a good name. That's an excellent name, actually. I've never put two together. We all
FOIP.
fell into the same damn hole together.
Boop.
The FOOP.
The FOOP. So what's changed for me? So I at 4th level I become a spellcaster. So I get to my smite evil goes from 1 to 2 times a day, which will come in handy as we head into the hotbed of evil.
Also, yes, absolutely.
And then I start getting spells. So I have a limited spell list here to choose from, which I haven't tried yet. But I figured I'd try something AOE since I'm a master of. We have enough healers in the party, and I'm a master of the sword, or a alleged master of the sword, as I recall it. I did not exactly distinguish myself in that last set of battles there. But.
Well, everybody, sometimes the dice rolls against you. There's no shame in that. Well, a little shame.
So I will find some proper AOE and to get it up and running.
Excellent.
And that's it for me. I have I took a mercy too. I think I told you what my mercy was. I'm not sure if I updated it for you, Les, but I'll update it for you.
What was the mercy that you took?
1 minute. I will go back.
You
One moment, please.
You want me to hum the theme from Jeopardy, or?
Yeah, please.
Okay.
Hey guys, by the way, Dan's here.
Hey, Dan! Welcome aboard.
Doesn't sound like I missed a whole lot. That could be good news.
We're still going through everybody's 4th level. We had the quick discussion with the Queen Galfrey, and you have been officially knighted in a rather informal knighting ceremony as a Knight Crusader of the Mendevian Army.
Huzzah!
Without the benefits or retirement plan.
Yeah, well, they don't really have retirement plans in the Mendevian Army, or Crusaders definitely.
Yeah, it's an average life expectancy that drastically plunged when we were
when the world
like that.
Exploded and your city was attacked. Yeah.
All right, so as I recall, the one that's really jacked us up was the last few adventures of Sickened, because we had really no way to combat that. So I took a mercy of being able to remove the affliction of Sickened.
Very cool,
mercy.
an excellent choice. Before Dan, we'll get to Fletcher in a minute, but let's talk about Illendar. Mike, you have moved to 4th level. What does a 4th level summoner do?
You know what? Not much. Illendar's.
That's a great story. Tell it again, would you?
Illendar's here because he's got a powerful friend, and that's kind of
okay.
The Eidolon didn't change at all between 3rd and 4th.
Really?
Still the same storm.
Okay.
But I did get finally 2nd level spells, and since the spells come slower for the summoner, the best thing I've got for the party now is at 4th level I can actually cast haste.
Haste. Well, awesome. All right.
That will be my big additional contribution to the party.
That'll come in quite handy when running away from demons.
Right, at least twice.
At least twice.
Twice. So,
awesome.
Yeah, pretty much everything else is still kind of the same.
The one thing I do miss is an aside. The one thing I do miss from our last part of this one is that the last part we were like a colony of spiders. We were always on a ceiling. especially our healer there.
Mhm.
I miss always being clinging to the ceiling for every combat.
Yeah, Ray
Yeah.
used to hang from the ceiling quite a bit.
Yeah, it's like the holiest among us is hanging from like a creepy spider from the ceiling.
Like The Exorcist.
Yeah.
Speaking of Ray, let's talk about Farina. Farina passed to 4th level. What happened? What did she take?
Small things. I mean, really, I picked up a couple second level spells, and I get a couple bonuses for flanking with Otto and others. Very minor stuff, but much appreciated.
All right. Bardos, androids are strange, but they still pass levels. What does Bardos have fresh in his bag of tricks?
He doesn't have haste. I thought haste was you had to be cast 3rd level spells for haste. Am I?
Haste is the 3rd level spell for everyone else except for a summoner. Since summoners get spells so slow, they make it a 2nd level spell. Because I don't get 2nd level spells until I'm 4th level.
Oh, wow, that's pretty cool.
That is
And I don't get 3rd level spells until I'm like 7th or 8th level. So that's why they do that.
no doubt in my mind that Mike is going to be a huge pain in the butt with that haste spell.
That's kind of what I'm here for.
So
No question about it.
Bardos' intelligence is now 20. That's one of the cool things you get at 4th level. You jump up a point.
Wow.
So he's a smart son of a bitch.
Yeah, he is.
Fortunately, I don't know how to play that, so you know.
Did he get anything else? Did he get any interesting spells or powers?
Yeah, I added 2 new spells. You get 2 spells every level, and I mean, basically, I just got a whole bunch of scrolls that I made that we worked out. So I got a good amount of stuff to help people with. I'm basically just a support guy, and that's what I'm going to be doing.
That's a good plan. It was a good idea to make those scrolls since it looks very. I mean, frankly, it looks very clear that you guys are going to be out in the field for a period of time. So interesting days afoot. All right, Dan, how about you? Fletcher turns 4th level. Fletcher the murderer. Fletcher the brutal. Fletcher the blood covered.
The blender.
What does Fletcher? How is Fletcher changed from 3rd to 4th level that's going to make him an even more unstoppable killing machine?
I was about to say, it's just more of the same. You will not see much of a change in his ability to hit stuff, but you should see a significant increase in his damage.
Oh, perfect. Okay.
4th level is kind of a good level for that. The power strike and that double ability.
Power attack does
Awesome.
that level.
I know we were all wondering ourselves why can't you do more damage after you
I've been wondering the same thing.
triple killed something.
I mean,
He's very strong, hits a lot, but it's like paltry damage. He practically never beheaded anybody.
He call you that pink mist.
Fletcher's Gang is a name that we should consider too, I think.
Fletcher's Gang. Okay.
Yeah, Fletcher's gang.
All right. We had one. I don't know, Dan, if you were on yet, but the Fellowship of Unwitting Participants came up as a potential name. I think that's right. I also failed to use one in the email that you guys had said last week. I think, or last time we played. I think this is a Matt, the Dirty Half Dozen.
Yes, that's we are.
I believe that's actually. I think that's me. Yeah.
That was you, I'm pretty sure, the Dirty Half Dozen. So lots of options here. I think, boy, I'll tell you what, the Fellowship of Unwitting Participants seems to have some legs to it. That's solid.
What I like about that is we can just be the unwitting for short.
The Unwitting. I like it. Or the participants, for that matter. Awesome. So that being the case, so you've all been knighted by Queen Galfrey. She also...
Is there a salary that comes with that?
Well, not a salary. However, she does. Another functionary comes up with a big box, which he opens, and she gets up again. Actually, she gestures to one of the person that you recognize now as her, probably senior advisor. Now, this is not a human. This is a guy that looks pretty strange. He's got elven features. But his skin is a very sort of deep olive green. He's about 6 feet tall. His eyes are large and do not have pupils, so kind of disconcerting. He wears strangely made Baroque armor, and the sword that Queen Galfrey used, which he gave to her, which he loaned to her, is his sword. The sword that is like 2/3 there and then 1/3 sort of invisible, is his sword. He seems to carry himself with a very noble bearing, but evinces all. He looks at first. You're like, he looks like an elf, and Farina and Fletcher as elves, you can't help but be sort of taken aback by. I mean, obviously he has high charisma, but also he just seems to embody sort of like a lot of qualities that elves prize. He's very noble bearing. He, you're especially attracted to that sword, which seems to be of significant power. Actually, Queen Gallifrey asks him, could you please hand them out? And what he does is he takes the box from the functionary and he comes to each of you in turn and he pulls out of the box these small medals that he presents to you. Fletcher, he presents to you and to Flashheart. You guys are sitting together next to each other at the table. He says, these are righteous medals of valor. Which when you look at them, they look like, they're on these like red ribbons, but they look like a demonic skull, which has been pierced by 4 swords, awarded to heroes who have killed demons whose CR is at least 1 higher than their character level. And it has magical powers. This medal is associated with strength, and it gives you a +2 sacred bonus to your CMD when you are wearing it.
Excellent. Sacred bonus. What does that mean?
It's a sacred bonus. There are a lot of different kinds of bonuses that you can get to various kinds of things. Sacred bonus means that it's probably going to stack with anything else that you get that might enhance CMD. Sacred bonuses are pretty rare, actually.
Nice.
But you can't stack 2 sacred. So if you get a sacred bonus from something else to your CMD, it won't stack. The best one will win out. But since sacred bonuses are pretty rare, the likelihood is that if you get other bonuses to CMD, they will not be sacred and they will stack with this particular bonus.
So it's not a strength bonus; it's a CMD bonus.
It's a CMD +2, a bonus to your CMD.
Okay, just want to make sure I got it. Thank you.
Okay. He then approaches Farina, and Farina, as an elf, you find yourself sort of a little bit in awe of this guy. He's obviously some sort of noble elven or astral celestial warrior, but he again exhibits all the characteristics that you as an elf would prize. He says to you, "You have done well." The Queen presents you with this medal of agility. It is awarded to heroes who deliver death blows to demons in combat before the demon gets a chance to act. It is associated with dexterity and grants you a +1 sacred bonus to initiative. So that's for you, Jennifer. He then goes over to Bardos and Ilindar, who also are sitting next to each other, and he says, Les has to find the space where that particular.
Thing to say.
He says, when the gods find what these medals are, I will give them to you. No, he pulls out these circular blue medals which have a pair of gray eyes surrounded by silver lightning bolts, and he puts them over each of your shoulders. These are medals of clarity, and they are given to heroes who use spells and recover vital information that is of great use against the world wounds and delivers intelligence to other crusaders. This medal is associated with intelligence, grants you a +2 bonus on saves against insanity, against confusion, and it also gives you a +2 bonus against knowledge geography, knowledge local, and knowledge nobility checks. You guys get all that? And that's for both Bardos and Ilindar.
It's local, knowledge local. What was the other 2?
Not local, geography, and nobility. And for Lothar, last but certainly not least.
What's for Scarecrow?
He presents the Righteous Medal of Vigor. This is a hexagonal medal upon which a white castle with a field of red and gold trim. It is awarded to heroes who rejoin the battle to defeat, who are cast out of the battle or separated from battle, but rejoin it to defeat the demons. It's associated with a constitution and gives you a +2 bonus on saves versus any death effect. Is the Medal of Vigor.
Okay.
So after the presentation, the tall, elvish-looking man sits down again, and says, and so the discussion reverts back to the Queen, and she says, "I've talked to you about now that you're officially Knights Crusaders, and you have been awarded the appropriate medals. I'm sure you have questions about the mission that I have posed to you. Please feel free to ask. I'm here to answer any questions that you may have." Does anyone have any questions?
Bless your email
Vanilla
said
Vigor.
something,
Sorry, go ahead.
about an army.
Yes. Who are you sending with us? So you will be accompanied. So one of the reasons, she says to you, one of the reasons that I've come to Kenebris at this time was to relieve the Crusaders, but is also to gather up some of the Crusaders and some of the people that are returning here to take with me as I move southward toward Narrosan and Starosa. My armies have to fight in the south, and I've come here to gather up some Crusaders. That said, what I can do for you is I will be providing you will be accompanying and in nominal command of, and she looks at Flashheart in this case, and in nominal command of Flashheart, an army of 100 Paladins of Iomade. It is all I can spare you, but I think it will be. It is my hope, and the belief of my senior strategic advisor Teledesic that these will be enough to get you to Drazen and will be able to allow you entry. The plan is obviously not to enter Drazen, the Citadel Drazen, with the entire army. As Irabet, Tirablade, and Quednus have told me, you guys work best with a diversionary group. These are for your protection during the travel, and they will assault the Citadel while you make plans to enter surreptitiously to attack from within. I'm assuming that will be the plan.
How many do we have to return for not to get too pissed?
I'd like you to return them all, but armies being armies, it's I'm sending this small army with you because I know that you will run into problems as you move closer to the Wound and into the base of into the region, which is now even now dominated by demons. But yes, 100 Paladins of Iomade will accompany you with leadership. Actually, and she sort of she goes, "I will send obviously some of my men with you, but." And she looks at Flashheart. She says, "Flashheart, as a fellow Paladin of Iomade, obviously you are my choice to lead the army itself. However, since I've been here in Kenebris, there has been a volunteer to accompany the army and accompany you to Citadel Drazen. He was quite insistent that he come along, and his previous experience and frankly his prowess finally convinced me. I believe you know him. His name is Geir Weirwald, or Windal. Geir Windal. My understanding is that he is known to you. So you guys will remember
Refresh our memory.
Geir. So this is the Ulfin guy who was friends with the dwarf.
Oh, okay.
That gave you the statuette.
Right.
He's the guy who gave you the statuette. Apparently, despite the fact that he said that, obviously the dwarven guy didn't like you guys, thought you were posers, and he ended up dying in the diversionary thing, this Geir guy volunteered to join you guys to go north. The Queen is quite insistent.
He's still got a squad solo with us, so that's why he wants to go.
Maybe.
Well, we welcome him. I will embrace him as a brother, and say we will and try to inspire him to greater daring do.
She also said there will be a couple of other people that I will be sending with you. Hold on a second. There will be a couple other people that I will be sending with you as well. First up, Social Vanek. This man here, he is a siege expert and a map guy, a tactician of some note, a strategist. He will be invaluable to you on the trip. Also, Nura Alemaker, a bard, but also an expert on the entire region north of Kenebris. She will help you to find your way to Drazen and avoid the pitfalls. She knows the path.
Is she going to sing us songs of great heroism?
Well, we've all known bards, and those of us who know bards know that Doug is oftentimes a bard, and yes, I think a song is probably in the offing. Many songs, probably continuous music of an annoying nature.
I understand that they have a high mortality rate too.
Not nearly high enough.
Why do I have to write out front?
I'm sorry, Gordon?
Okay.
Does she have ballet slippers on?
Yeah, she has some sort of like, well, you know what? I bet it's not ballet slippers. Hold on a second.
Is he half dragon,
It
half
is.
homoerotic?
It is not slippers. Those are bare feet. She is a halfling.
She's got hairy feet.
She's got hairy little halfling feet.
Like little fuzzy slippers. Okay.
She's a halfling. But they will accompany you as well. So, here, any other questions? I'm sure you have plenty.
Okay, so I know who Nura is. I remember her guy. Remind me on Scythel. He's a map maker.
He's an expert on siege tactics, traps, infiltration, scouting, and the like. He is where you'll be getting your map of the Citadel.
Okay. And this is an old school map from prior to the fall of the Citadel.
We'll probably see it before the night's out. Nura will be supporting you with bardic magic. She's also an expert on the region and knows more about Citadel Drazen than anyone in Kenebris at this point.
And Doug is going to join us. Is that why
No,
he's joining us?
Doug's not joining us.
Okay. Okay.
Before we leave town, Farina just wants to do some things.
Okay.
Can we ask the queen, are there any merchants with her that might have been traveling with her army?
No merchants. Although she did say that if you know anyone in Kenebris who might have been able to preserve resources, that could be very helpful. If you have friends in Kenebris who have resources, or perhaps former merchants or something like that, who you can count on to help provide resources, that would be incredibly valuable. Because some of the rules for mass combat deal with resource allocation. So I don't know if she's like, I don't know if you know. I mean, obviously you've only been in. My understanding from what Irabet has told me is that you've only been here for a couple of weeks, and yet you've demonstrated so much. So much value to the Crusaders and to the people of Kenebris. It's hard to look askance at you. Obviously, Iomede's hand is in this. But if there is anybody that you know in the city that can provide resources or has resources that could be used for a 100 paladin army, that would be valuable.
Who do we know? Anybody we didn't kill that might still be out there? There was the Gray Garrison, right? That was about.
There's one of the guys that was with us that was really annoying that had lots of money.
Yeah, the rich guy.
Yeah. What happened to that guy? But he ended up paying us. Yeah, Horgus gave us a bunch of stuff.
He was, as you may recall, was a very successful
merchant. He actually wanted to hire us, but we wouldn't go with him.
He was a very successful merchant and trader in Kenebris.
Yeah.
He might be somebody worth asking.
We can talk to him.
Sick the army on him.
Well, let's use the carrot first before we go to the stick.
So, Dan, did you have a question?
No, that was my question about.
Oh, okay. Jennifer, did you have a question?
I was just going to ask, take some of my loot and set up my uncle's apothecary.
Oh, you want to rebuild it?
I just want to set somebody up in there with the message that I'm looking for him, and that I've gone north.
Well, it's possible. You'd have to move pretty quickly. Obviously, the queen is wanting you to move pretty quickly to strike while the iron is hot. You'd maybe have 36 hours.
Can't I find someone to hire that is good at these things, apothecary?
Theoretically, yeah, probably.
That would be my goal.
Okay.
So you can just let me know separately whether or not I'm successful and how many bones it'll cost.
Okay.
You put it on a Kenebris list message board and see you get.
Hey, I've got one other thing for everybody. I'm still carrying around the whole page of party loot.
Mostly magical longswords.
It's
No,
a lot of them.
No, but we've got tons of masterwork stuff.
Masterwork glaives and all
We've got
kinds.
we've got masterwork glaives for like one for like the whole city. But I've got that. I think I was pretty good about taking stuff off the list as people grabbed it. But at some point, I want to go through this list real quick.
You want to do it right now?
Make sure everyone's grabbed everything they want, and then offline, so we don't take up time here, I'll get with Les and figure out what we can get for all this stuff, and then I'll just distribute it, 6 ways or how many people there are next time we play. I'll just say this is how much gold everybody got.
Sounds good.
Okay. Do you want to? Do you guys want to look over that list and see if anybody wants anything before we set off?
I'm good.
Seems like we picked through it once already, not too long ago.
Yeah, you guys have picked through it a couple times. The only thing I'm looking at, there's some +1 bolts that I show that no one's grabbed. And there's this, what happened with the Ranseur of the Gargoyle? What was that?
No
Are you asking me?
Yes.
I don't know.
It's +1, +4 disarm 5 times per day. It's +2 natural armor.
Hold on. Let me
Something
go.
pretty nasty. I remember that. But I've still got it on my list.
Okay, Ranseur of
Looks
the
like something a
Gargoyle.
barbarian should use.
All right, the Ranseur of
Natural armor.
the Gargoyle.
I'll undo what you did hiding.
And then,
Where are we?
hey, Gordon, did you take the 2, whatchamacallit, spell books that we found?
He did.
It's spell books, yeah, you did.
You
Yeah.
got those, okay. Because I've still got those in my list, so I'll take those off.
Yeah, all the spell books I've taken and either used as scrolls, have them as scrolls, or else I've used them to learn.
To learn, okay. All right. Just making sure.
Okay, Ranseur of the Gargoyle. Hold on a second.
That just seemed like a pretty significant magic item.
Yeah. Did you raise your hand?
I pressed a button that said hide me, and I've effectively hit us, and we're not sure how to unhide us. But I have another button that says raise your hand, which is kind of fun. Hello. Can anybody else see that?
I don't know how to unhide you either.
Yes, you may go to the bathroom.
Are you talking about on Zoom, Jen?
Participant, yeah, on Zoom, yeah.
I think you go to your Gordon Brown. I can see you on the chat.
Hey, how about that? Are we back?
Hey, they're back.
There you are. Yep.
All right, Mike, Ranseur of the Gargoyle appears to have a head crafted of obsidian, but is in fact hard and resilient as steel. The weapon functions as a +1 Ranseur that grants a +4 bonus on disarm checks rather than the typical +2 bonus. And up to 5 times a day as a swift action, the wielder of the Ranseur of the Gargoyle can cause its skin to harden for 1 round, gaining a +2 enhancement bonus to natural armor.
Right.
For only 1 round, though?
5
You can do it
times a
5 times
day.
a day, but yeah. only
And it's a
one.
swift action.
All right. I guess that's fair.
So if no one, I don't think anyone really uses that. So if not, I'll just add that to the list of things we're selling, and that'll just be part of the gold that everybody will get.
Deal.
Yeah.
But other than that, it's a lot of mundane stuff like smoke sticks, the vial of oil,
Skulls over enemy.
and crossbows. What's that?
I've got something too. Talking with Les from some of the books I gathered. One of the books I have. Let's see if I can find it. Hang on a
Oh,
second.
also got a manual of war. What's that?
Yeah, Manual of War. That one is.
That's at the top of my list.
So a manual of war is usually bound in blood-stained leather. It's a heavy tome, scarred like the flesh of a seasoned warrior, and contains many generations of martial knowledge. Once per day, after studying the manual for 1 hour, a fighter may exchange one of his fighter bonus feats for another combat feat. He or she must meet the prerequisites for the new feat and cannot alter a feat she is using as a prerequisite for another feat, prestige, class, or ability. Change persists for 24 hours, after which time the fighter's feats return to normal. The fighter may spend 10 minutes studying the manual to end the effect. So you take the book, you study it for 1 hour, you can switch out a feat.
But does it have to be a specific fighter or just a generic fighter feat so any martial character can use it?
It says a fighter can exchange one of her fighter bonus feats for
Okay.
another combat feat. Now, in this case, I think any martial class
Okay.
would be able to use this.
Okay. So we either sell it to get the money and redistribute, or it goes to either probably Fletcher or Flash Art.
Well, I mean, it's probably can be shared. It just says that after you study the manual for an hour, you get to switch out your feet.
Right.
So I don't know
Okay.
that it needs to be owned by anybody in particular.
Right.
So I guess you could, if we know what we're getting into, we can customize our feat strategy a little bit.
Yeah. But it's
Not
combat
terrible.
feats only.
I'm not going to laugh here, but to really think that we plan an attack more than a day in advance,
I know.
I mean, that's wishful thinking.
There's been many times we're in the middle of a negotiation. I turn around like, wait, are we fighting now? What happened?
Right. That's usually the extent of our planning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Holy crap, did we just get attacked?
I call it diplomacy.
Yeah. Aggressive diplomacy.
Aggressive diplomacy. I like it. All right,
So,
so
you want me to just hang on to that as party booty, but just it won't have an owner at this point?
I would say sell it and get the money for it. None of the fighters are going to use that. I mean, everybody's got.
That's kind of what I was thinking.
That's just not something. There's actually a fighter class that has the ability to do that. I can't remember what it is, Mike, but
brawler.
A brawler, yeah. It's
Yeah.
like a brawler, but I mean,
Right.
none of
We're fresh out of brawlers.
yeah.
Can you guys really see us? Because we can't see us.
Yeah.
We can
Yeah, we
totally
can
see it.
see it.
That's hysterical.
Stop picking your nose.
Yeah, please.
Or do a moose ear.
We're doing that.
Hey, there we are.
All right, was there anything on the other on the list that you guys were interested in finding out more about? Was there anything else
There was nothing
on the booty list?
else. I mean, like I
wanna
said,
say the word booty.
ancient masterwork glaives. Did anyone take the cold iron dagger with the symbol of Almade on it?
No,
If anyone
but-
took it, I imagine it would have been Flash Art.
yeah, I'd be happy to take it because that sounds like something I'd like to plunge into the heart of one of our enemies.
Okay, then put in cold iron dagger with some symbol of Almade, and I'm going to take it off my list.
And it's no other magic, right? It's not.
Nope, it's not
a-
magical. It's just
Not yet.
made of cold iron.
Thank you. I will put that on right now.
Okay.
And just to confirm, Mike, I do not want the Ransor. I just looked it up. It's got reach.
Right. Okay. So that'll be the sell thing. Okay. The rest of the stuff I can do with less offline, so it doesn't take up game time.
Okay. So she says, the queen says, you're probably wondering how things are going on the front lines in the south. It's relatively quiet for the moment, but I expect that to change any moment now. Scouts within the World Wound tell us that demons and their minions are massing along the Sarkora River in Rift Shadow, and we expect them to hit Nerosin, Karkau, and the southern points within a week. I need to get Knebris in order and head back south in a few days as a result, and I hope you'll be well on your way north by then. As far as this plan, it's risky, but the reward is worth it, and the demons won't expect it. In fact, they may not even notice what with their attention focused on the southern borders. If you can secure Citadel Drazen quickly enough and find the Sword of Valor, it will do most of the work of keeping the place safe once you've reactivated it. Now, you're probably thinking, what's stopping the demons from teleporting in as reinforcements once you attack Citadel Drazen? Well, frankly, nothing but their own nature.
Sharing the screen.
Those left behind have been charged with protecting Citadel Drazen, and if they abandon that post, even to teleport away for help, they'll likely be killed. No demon wants to be killed. That and their arrogance about their superiority over mortal life should be more than enough to keep them in Citadel Drazen until the very end. At that point, when you've broken their morale, they'll teleport away in droves, which should give you several days to complete your mission.
So I'm hoping that to turn this thing on, there's like an on switch
Yeah, on the side of the thing.
on the thing.
I don't know. Maybe there is. Well,
There's
so
a power
you're
button.
saying you're probably asking, what can I, what can,
What do we do to
what does she
actually-
know about it? The Sword of
Yeah.
Valor.
to activate this.
Well, she says, well, first thing, despite its name, it's not a sword. It's a battle standard, an artifact once used by Iomedae herself during the Shining Crusade. The church loaned the banner to the First Mendevian Crusade and allowed it to hang in Drazen, where it bolstered Crusader morale and, perhaps more importantly, warded against demonic attacks, deceptions, and even teleportation. It's located somewhere inside the Citadel. At one point, it was held in a special vault, but our divinations have only revealed that the banner remains in the Citadel somewhere. Alas, the same wards that protected against demons also hampered divination attempts, but we know it's still there. It's probably kept somewhere in the building as a trophy. Does that help at all?
Um,
We don't know how to activate it. We don't know much about it. It's been held for almost 4 decades, and most of those who were involved who were at Citadel Drazen when Citadel Drazen was taken, older, long in their graves.
Put that through the ice crusher.
Is there any other information that I can provide to you?
Doesn't sound like it.
I can't think of any.
All right. If not,
Tools
I
like wands of invisibility, and teleport.
she smiles wryly and says, "If I had those, I would give them to you. But in fact, we are short of supplies as always. This attack has ruined a lot of things, and my mages are on the front lines doing the best they can. I'm sorry, I can't give you anything of that. But you have your medals, you have booty that you've secured for the demons,
And 100 plus 10, level 10 knights.
and 100 plus paladins, 4th level paladins
Oh, okay.
of Iomedae, who to accompany you. So I will leave you in the company of my senior strategist and tactician, Beladizic, and he will show you some of the maps. Good luck. I wish you all of Iomedae's blessings. And with that, she stands up, and several of her functionaries follow out, and she leaves. At which point, the big green elf-looking dude comes over to the table and splays out a map and says, "This is the path that I think you will take, Drazen."
That's so sick. It's got high charisma.
Very high. Can you see the map?
Yeah.
Okay, so this is a map of the sort of northeastern corner of the World Wound before it hits the glaciers up to the north. You are here in Kenebris, down in the south. The first step is to go to Vala's Gift. It's a small small village, but the likelihood is that we'll have resources that you can take advantage of, and it's certainly, at least as far as we know, it is safe. It is marginally within the World Wound, so we don't know for sure, but that is what we suspect. Hold on a second. It is about, let's see if this works. It is about 28 miles from Kenebris north to Vala's Gift. You can go, just so you know, the army, you will be provided horses. The army is mounted and can move about 36 miles per day. So this is about most of a day's travel. We assume that you will shelter on the first night in Vala's Gift. From Vala's Gift, you will proceed north to the Villarith Ford. That is the place where you will move into. Hold on a second. You will move into the World Wound proper. There is a bridge system at Villarith Ford. As far as we know, it is the only still existing bridge over that portion of the river. So you have to use it. It's about 52 miles north along the river from Vala's Gift. Probably 2 days, a day and a half to 2 days travel to get to the ford. You'll cross over to the ford and into the World Wound. You'll follow the river system, the river valley northward to Keeper's Canyon. Hold on a second. So Vala's Gift, we talked about, northeast of Kenebris, small town surrounded by fertile lands. We suspect that you may be able to get resources there. Villarith Ford, obviously the place where you will cross. Keeper's Canyon is it's here that you begin to start skirting the edge of the World Wound and trying to stay out of sight. You will approach, as you can see from the map, you will approach Drazen from the east. I'm sorry?
Sorry, we were speaking. I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry about that. You'll approach Drazen from the east. Follow the rift that goes there. It's about 26 miles from Keeper's Canyon. You will follow that, cross over onto the northern side, and approach Drazen from the east. And that is how you will. That is the path that we think makes the most sense. What do you think?
Screw it, we're going straight there.
What did you say? What'd you say?
No, I think it sounds good.
Just sort of like this, just straight across this whole thing, just like.
As far as you know, that's exactly what we'll do.
Well, this
Maybe
seems
we
the
can
most.
ask for Pegasi.
This seems the best path. I mean, remember, it's not just you six. It's you're moving 100 paladins with you on this thing. So
Are these paladins like Flashheart, or are they like calmer paladins?
no, they're regular paladins.
Because we don't know if we can handle 100 of them.
Yeah, I don't know if I can handle
They're
them.
all like Flashheart. They're like Flashheart's classmates.
100 paladins in a barn. This is how you know the queen hates us.
Is anybody else getting the vibe from? You remember the end of Return of the King, where he's like, "Certain death, no chance of success. 100 paladins. When do we start?"
My kind of battle.
My kind of.
And,
battle. All right.
Mercy. Mercy's coming. Good luck charm.
Do you want to bring Mercy? Because Mercy absolutely does not want to come.
Mercy's my trusted valet.
Yeah, and you took him with you into the.
We respect her privacy. We don't actually she's a her or him.
Yeah.
We still don't know.
Took him.
Did I do that?
You took
Right.
him with you down into the. I guess Mercy would come, but he's certainly going to be reluctant. And there, you get about 45 minutes of argument of why Mercy. It's important for Mercy to stay here, look out for your interests, that kind of thing. And until you're Mercy, I insist. She's like, yeah, I guess I'm coming. Yeah. So for those of you who are new, Andrew, Mercy is Flashheart's valet. They've been through some tight squeezes together, but she is not a fighter by any. Or he is not a fighter. I keep saying she. Change that creature's name. Mercy is a female name.
Fine.
It's making me crazy. I'm going to call him Bill. Bill. It's Bill. Bill says he wants to stay, but
call her Merce for short. If that makes you feel
Merce.
better.
Mercy is a gender fluid coward.
Yeah.
Well, he certainly doesn't want to go on some sort of misguided attack in the World Wound to some citadel that's 100 miles away.
What more fun is there out there? All the things we survived, this seems like a walk in the park.
All right. So, like we said, Vala's Gift, resources. Villareth Ford is where you cross over the river. Keeper's Canyon is where you'll enter the rift and begin sneaking up on Dresden, and then you will approach Dresden from the east.
Okay.
Got it.
All right. That being the case, Social, the map guy, comes in and says, introduces himself. Greetings, my name is Social. I will be accompanying you and the army on this secret mission. My guess is that you would like to see a map of Drazen. Is that true?
Huh?
Yes, please.
So this is what Drazen looks like right now. You'll be approaching from the east and from the direction of Paradise Hill. You can see the road and the Ahari riverbed. The Ahari River is now dry, so it's possible that we can approach that way, although 100 paladins would probably make that difficult. We would probably end up approaching from the easternmost area. Yeah, exactly. We'll probably end up approaching from Paradise Hill. There are watchtowers around the citadel. We believe, obviously, the divinations done by Queen Galfrey's diviners say that it is in the citadel. Right now, South Bank and Paradise Hill are pretty much more or less destroyed. There's no human inhabitants there, and frankly, we have not been able to get close enough to determine. The citadel has a variety of watchtowers. Go ahead.
So Citadel is still a going concern, but the city is mostly a wasteland, right?
The city is probably mostly a wasteland. We're not entirely sure. Nobody has been this close to it. We've tried some things, but frankly, it's a little. There are. I can tell you a little bit about the Citadel. It was founded in 4628 by Crusaders to establish a foothold in demon-controlled territory. It was engineered by talented dwarven crusaders. These dwarves carved the central citadel from one massive granite plateau, using a style reminiscent of their sky citadels. But the city fell before many of the upper stories and lower levels could be added. As work on Citadel Drazen commenced, greater numbers of stonemasons and architects toiled on the surrounding lands, and it didn't take long before the city could house tens of thousands of crusaders and many artisans, laborers, and other supporters of the war effort. River traffic and supply lines from Mendev continued to bring a steady influx of soldiers, and even as two massive cemeteries were established.
That's his way to say they were going to be facing undead later.
No. Citadels fell to treachery in 4638 when an eager young dwarven paladin named Staunton Vane was deluded by a demon in disguise and tricked into removing the city's greatest defense, the Sword of Valor. Now, cultists devoted to Discari and Baphomet, with whom you are all familiar, control the ruins as well as the city's formidable stronghold. Their fires light the city battlements, the nearby spawning grounds, and the mountain pass where valuable prisoners are taken deeper into the world womb for sacrifices or worse. The abyssal influence on the surrounding terrain has dried up the tributary of the Selen River, running through the city, creating a wide gulf separating the once green banks. That's the Ahari. The cliffs contain several caves and areas for gargoyles, harpies, flying demons, all of whom delight in harassing the many slaves and prisoners that make up at least half the city's population. Soldiers and mercenaries constitute the bulk of Drazen's inhabitants, frequently patrolling the streets and eastern approaches before reporting back to their leaders and their demonic masters. While the ruins of Drazen could hold a much larger number of inhabitants, the vast majority have left for the war front far to the south, reducing the settlement to the status of a small town. The town itself doesn't hold much strategic value for the demons because it's so far to the north. And we think that they're trusting in Crusaders' low morale and the defenders holding the southern borders to protect this prize.
A couple questions about this. This Paradise Hill here, there's a big tower here. Is that probably a ruin as well?
It's possible. We don't know for sure.
And our cartographer / siege guy here, is he adept at siege weapons?
He is.
That seems like the perfect place to put one or two as we assault if we need somebody to get us out of the city. I know we're going for a small force, but the Force 10 from Navarone. That's what I was going with. Not Dirty Half Dozen. It was Force 8 from Navarone or whatever. Anyway, you were saying?
So we're actually going to task him with building like 43 trebuchets.
Yeah.
And
With local materials.
Attack from there.
And he's gonna fashion a rudimentary glaive from a loaf of stale bread.
Yeah, rudimentary. Look around.
Is this guy's name what? MacGyver? Is that what you said his name was?
Yes, it's MacGyver.
No, glaives we got. We just need some.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you said Paradise Hill, that's all trash, right?
That's what we think.
So real estate's really cheap then. So
I would just say that if we're going to bring any of the Crusaders with us into the city, that seems like a good place to push to help, as we come rushing out of there with our prize.
Maybe we should go in looking like a development company,
Yeah. We're
Bunch
here to
of,
rezone.
like, surveyors and stuff.
Yeah. We're here for a zoning meeting.
Hard hat and a clipboard get you in any room in Drazen.
Nothing demons hate more than a zoning board.
All right, so that is the map of Drazen, which you will have access to. In the meantime, the meeting sort of dissolves. Do you have any other questions for any of the tacticians or anything like that? The fact is that they don't know much about what's going on in Drazen, but you have to get there first.
What's the terrain we're going through? Is it desert like it looks on the map, on the big map, or?
It's pretty scrabby. It's hold on, let's go back. Okay. So yeah, I mean, this area on the other side of this brown is actually, it's northern plains, right? Places where wheat would grow, that kind of stuff. The brown that you see is the influence of the world wound, and it is desiccated. Rivers run dry. Plants are died or mutated. Insects and undead.
Are we on a bluff, or is the world wound a bluff? I mean, are we up or down from that?
The world wound is basically a pit, but its pernicious effects claw out everywhere. I mean, if you look at this map, if you look at this map, the world wound is centered on the city of Iz, which is a city which, as far as you have heard, exists on both the abyss and the prime material plane. It is where the world wound starts, and it is certainly the capital city of the demons. What has happened is, over time, the pernicious effect of this rift in the plains has caused the area to become sort of abyssal, for lack of a better word. Water runs dry. There are strange creatures. No one wants to live here. The Wardstones kept up a border, and you can see that border. That border is in large part that river. Although you can see that at some points over here, the world wound's effects have passed the river. Even where you are in Kenebris, you can see that it has moved back. But it dies out as it gets farther away. The demons have tried to sort of expand that influence, and the more cities that they take, the more the effects of the world wound spread.
Okie dokie.
Obviously, that's why countries like Ustalav and Numeria send a great many soldiers into the Mendevian armies to help try to do this, because they know that they are on the firing line as well. And you can see the red lines where those borders are.
I mean, the only other questions I have, I think, are not answered by this map or tacticians. We have. Do we know what kind of? I do have one other question, I guess. Do we have any idea of the types of creatures we'll be facing there? Is it going to be more of the same? Some humans,
certainly there will be tieflings. Certainly there will be humans. Beyond that, we don't know exactly what sort of creatures are there. I mean, demons obviously are part of the armies. The armies of the enemy is comprised of demons. But the likelihood is that we know that Staunton Vane still runs Drazen. He's a dwarf. He has many cultists, human and demi-human cultists. What's going on?
Is somebody building something?
I think somebody's building a shield or something.
It's my fault again. I apologize. I'm loading a bag.
Oh my God, Matt.
But every time I get bored, I go to the kitchen for a while to start cleaning dishes.
You get a little snack, yeah. But yes, so there are humans, there are demons, there are demi-humans. Honestly, it could be undead. It could be a lot of different things. I mean, you have to be ready for anything.
Celeste, the black hand underneath Dresden, is that like a dried up river?
It is. It's the dried up. Hold on, I know the name of this river. It is indeed a river, and it is called the Selen. It is called the Selen River, and it is indeed dry. It's a tributary of the Ahari River.
Ahari River.
The Ahari River. Ahari. But yeah, that's the Selen, and it is in dry. Most rivers within the world wound are indeed dry.
And why is that?
It's just the pernicious effects of being close to the world wound.
So demons don't drink water. They got to import the stuff.
They don't drink water. They drink blood, or obviously the despair and tears of the righteous.
So does it not rain here or something?
It does not rain in the world wound. And when it does, it doesn't rain water. It rains frogs. It rains blood. It rains little chips of ice.
frogs. and
It's a
just-
weird
As long as
place.
there's frogs in there.
Wow.
Demonic frogs.
Cats and dogs live together.
Huh.
All right. So your first stop is going to be Vala's gift. You have about 36 hours before the queen feels like you need to be off. Obviously, she's still getting the paladins together for you. Is there anything that you're going to do in the city? I know what Jennifer's going to do. She's going to look for somebody to man her father's apothecary
And try and bribe Bill to come be my valet.
and try to bribe Bill. Wouldn't take much. I got to be
Probably
honest.
shouldn't take much, yeah.
And then he can run the apothecary for me.
What are the rest of the Fellowship of Unwitting Participants going to do in the 36 hours that they have?
I will. Whoever's good idea was to look up our old friend, the rich and arrogant merchant. I think that's top of my list. I'd love somebody to go with me.
Okay, so you're going to go down there?
Keep me from killing him.
I'll go with. I don't know if I'll keep you, but I'll make sure it works if you decide.
We assume he's still in town, right? Because I know he was planning to make his escape to one of his outer estates.
Well, you guys had actually got him to his estate, which was in relatively pristine condition. It was just that like his servants had left, and he immediately tried to hire you guys as his new servants, which you guys turned down. But you'll remember from being there that his estate was relatively unscathed, almost completely unscathed.
So let's go visit him first. Who wants to throw the charm offensive with me?
I can bluff him.
Okay, I can diplomatize him. So let's
Yeah,
do it.
drows are great at bluffing, guys.
Yeah.
As far as you know.
These are not the drows you're looking for. All right, so you guys are going to go down there. Is anybody else doing anything? Bardos, what are you doing?
Bardos is making scrolls.
You're going to make more scrolls. All right, send me a list. You got
Thanks for doing it.
probably 24 hours based on the rules that we used last time. So keep
I
doing
thought
that.
we were going on what we had talked about. Is there more? So this is more time beyond the 4 days, or
Yeah, you'll get it. You'll get another half day. That help you?
possibly? But I'm out of money, so we got to see.
You got a money?
I'll give you money.
Hey, Gordon.
Oh, you need spells.
Gordon, go ahead and fill up your day. Ilendar will be giving you some of his share to
If it's healing related, I will be happy to plunge you into. We're all benefit.
Party related. I'll support your endeavors.
Yeah, Gordon, did you get my email?
Yeah, I did. Yep, and
Okay.
I basically set some aside. I don't know that you're going to be able to read them.
Well, but if you can use them on me,
Yeah, I can.
then that means nobody's beating the crap out of me, and I'll be a more effective healer.
Yeah, so that was my plan, and I've set aside some especially for you.
So whatever money you needed for that, just let me know.
Yeah, I will.
Okay.
What about you, Lothar? What are you going to do?
I'm going to find a sergeant or someone who's going to remain behind and give them a description of my mentor and have him keep an eye out. Since people are coming out of the woodwork now that it's relatively safe to do so, I want to make sure that if he's spotted, that they bring him to the Defender's home or whatever this place is.
Defender's Heart.
Right. So that when I get back, I can meet back up with him. And I'll also let them know that he's a gifted healer. So if they find him, he can help here.
Okay. That certainly incentivizes them. So, okay.
That reminds me, by the way, I was originally sent here because they were trying to get rid of me from my last abbey there
Okay.
for being too zealously annoying. The backstory on Flashheart is after he came back with being a broken mind, they keep sending him on suicide missions because he keeps annoying them with his zeal. So they sent him here, and just happens to be right before Carnivorous blows up, and I was supposed to meet with the abbot, as I recall, right? So I guess I'll just drop him a note saying, not going to be stopping by, have an army to lead. I'm sure he'll love that. If
He
he's
will
still
love
around.
that. He's
Yeah.
like, yes, you absolutely should do this.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Zero chances of success, please.
Zero
In fact-
chance of success.
In fact,
Almost certain death. When do we begin?
In fact, I will implore him to provide some supplies from the Abbey's personal group here, personal stock, in support of Carnivorous in this mission. Without defining what the mission is, because I don't think we need to tell anybody else about it.
Okay.
Roll.
Roll a diplomacy check.
Oh, all right.
Uh-oh.
1 second. I'm
This isn't
recording
gonna-
from my laptop. I have plenty of points in diplomacy, actually. So let's
First
see.
roll of the night.
I'm gonna have to go with Dan. This isn't gonna end well.
No, it's not.
As soon as I roll 2, they go, let's go to the chart.
Let's go to the.
Oh.
Whoa! Holy
Oh.
cow! A 27 diplomacy. All right, so.
All right, I'm quitting right now, guys. I'm signing off.
Yeah, I know. You get out while the getting's good. So obviously, this guy is impressed with you, and frankly, is still, but is still. You can tell that the core of him not wanting to be around you is still there. So roll 2d4 plus 2.
1 second.
That's a hell of a diplomacy roll.
Oh,
9. All right, so you
that doesn't
guys,
get better than that.
you will receive from him 9 units of food.
Is that 9 days worth of food for an army?
No, it is not, but we'll get to the units and stuff in a minute. And he will also provide 9 units of water.
I will take it and just send.
So excellent work. Now, now you go down to Horgus. You're gonna go down to Horgus Guerms.
Oh, yeah, Hortus Guerms.
So you guys moved
And Mike,
down
you
the
came with me, right?
Yep.
as you guys move down the city to go talk to Horgus, the closer you get, the more you realize that Horgus is open for business. He has hired some people, a whole cadre of people, actually, and you can tell that he has begun rebuilding his merchanting concern. Out front of his villa, you see basically he's set up like 3 or 4 big pavilions. And underneath are goods and goods and foodstuffs and things like that. That obviously and a small army of of people are preventing. There's a lot of trading going on. He seems to be welcoming a lot of the most of the or a significant amount of the wagons and traders that are coming back in to the city from outside. He has capitalized on this, especially his nearly untouched gold and silver reserves to become a buyer and a seller, and he's doing well.
I'm going to say sagely to Mike, Ioma Day loves a pragmatist.
When you arrive, he is in much better spirits. He welcomes you guys with open arms. Please, please come in, my saviors. These are the ones who saved me when I was accosted by the hideous Hmong down in the pits. Please come in, and he orders servants to bring food and drink, and brings you back into his villa, which you are somewhat familiar with, and but it's been cleaned up, and you go down into this like little pit area where there's a fire going, and the servants bring stuff. And he's like, what brings you back to my merchanting house? Have you decided against working with the Crusaders, and you've come back to take jobs with me? Because those jobs are still open, I can tell you.
Opposite. We're opening new trading routes to the north, and we thought you'd want to get on the ground floor.
New trading routes, you say? To the north? In what sense? There's nothing to the north.
There will be.
Yeah, I understand Dresden's a lovely place to trade again soon.
Dresden has been in the hands of the demons for 40 years. That's no new market.
Not
What are you
now.
getting at,
Wink,
sir?
wink.
It will be.
Yeah, I'll basically I will implore him to. First, before I implore him, I will lay out a obviously under strictest confidence, of course. As a merchant, he understands the value of keeping information in short supply to his competitors.
I do.
And let him know that that there is a push for the Queen to take back Dresden, from the demons.
Really?
And that could open a whole new markets and the gratitude of royals. But
That is
all
an
we're looking for in this place.
I have dangled some of my services in front of the Queen to much to no avail, other than some of the most rudimentary stuff. Perhaps, if I was to help you, I would put myself into her good graces.
Yeah.
Thereby open up some new markets, perhaps to think. So, what is it that you need?
Supplies.
Yeah, Mike, help me here. So I will basically outlist. We have a fairly large unit we're moving,
Yeah.
and we could
I
use.
see.
I think we have no. Unless let me just as an aside here, we have all the arms and men we need. We have horses.
Yes.
What we
Yeah,
need
you don't need
is
weapons or armor.
provisions.
They all have theirs.
Yeah.
Okay.
We just
So
need supplies.
Food,
Which,
water, and
which
some brandy
obviously
for Mercy.
he's got plenty of.
I'll tell you what I can do. And so he looks at your list. He's like, yes. And you can see he's weighing it against the possibility of further services to the Queen of Mendev. I think a diplomacy check is in order. Or a bluff check. Or an intimidate check. Whichever you think would work.
Mike, yeah. Do you feel lucky? I can do it again, but I don't want to go to the well too often, too early. Here we go.
How's that?
So Ilindar kicks back with a 28 bluff check.
Tell him, everything he's going to get if he does this and all that kind of stuff.
All right, so
Yeah.
you're
That's
telling him,
definitely
like, you're basically saying, oh,
King of
yeah,
Meddev is
these-
looking for a
these-
merchant in a hand
these
in
deals
Mary.
are locked in. If you help us with this, absolutely 100%, you are going to be like the number one supplier to the Mendevian army on the field. And
You're gonna be the guy.
his
The guy.
eyes are just lighting up. Because
Who's
as
the
we
big
all
winner,
know,
Mikey? Who's the big winner?
as we all know from 18 years of war, military contracts are really quite remunerative. So obviously he's ready to go. A 28 bluff check certainly sways him. He's like, I will provide. All right, this seems right. So I will provide certain wagons and transport to your little army. I will provide the resources you. Basically, what he does is Horgus Guerm's support reduces the army's consumption score by 2. The current consumption score is 3, and we'll talk about those rules here in a minute. But it is a huge bonus that he has bought into supplying the army with what it needs. Your little army. So excellent work, Ilindar.
Leave it to the face, man. We'll take care of him.
All right. So that being the case,
Now we will retire.
is anybody else? Did I skip anybody as to what they're doing as far as in the 36 hours before leaving for Vala's gift?
I didn't say anything specific, Les. But
Oh, that's true. Fletcher, what are you going to do?
if the chance arises, I would
You're
love.
going to murder some people?
No, I would like to chit chat with the bard. I would be intrigued to find out more about what being a bard is all about and whether bards bump into each other on the road.
Someone's looking for a lady
so,
friend.
So you want to talk to the young halfling bard Nura ale maker, of course. Do a I don't know, sense motive maybe, or diplomacy, I guess maybe if you want to. Yeah, I mean, you're trying to like just tease her out, or I mean, what are you trying to?
I'm not trying to convince her to do anything. I'm just trying to get information from her about what bards are like on the road and what kind of patterns they follow and what.
Is that your seduction move?
No.
Oh yeah, it is. All right, do a diplomacy check.
Okay, that's not going to go.
Oh God, Fletcher's going to start singing as he kills people.
You need to take a level in bardic.
21, excellent. Raw 19. You guys are pulling diplomacy checks out of your asses tonight. I just have to say. So
You know, when it comes to mass combat,
yes,
we're going to die horribly.
She seems quite standoffish at first, Fletcher, but you pull out some elvish wine that you've hustled from Defender's Heart. You give her a little bit, and she comes around, frankly, and she tells you a great many things about being a bard. The musical talent, the performance stuff, but it also is very much about determining lore and healing the sick. She has many talents and hopes very much to put them to use in the service of this effort. Give me a quick sense motive.
Okay. That's going to be a +0.
Ah, perfect.
There was the bad rolls we were waiting for.
So you find her to be absolutely enchanting. She is is voluble. She is friendly. She's somewhat attractive, although I don't know if you're into halflings. I mean, frankly, you think that having her as part of the team is just the best possible decision that Queen Galfrey.
Sure I do.
This is, and frankly, this whole Bard thing, you're immensely intrigued by. You're like, I felt like, I took violin when I was a kid, back in, but I gave it up, when I got to junior high. It was just a lot of other things to do and that kind of stuff. So, maybe it's time for me to reconsider maybe the flute or some other bardic kind of thing. That might work. I mean, you're really starting to think about this as maybe a possible option for you, 5th level.
And this one time at Bard Camp.
This one time at Bard Camp.
Fletcher with Vogon poetry.
There you go.
One bad roll away. Dan, be careful.
All right. When you guys connect with the army, the Paladin army that you guys put together, 100 guys. These guys are mostly locals. You have a feeling that Queen Galfrey has drawn the people who are going to come with you from the ranks of Kenebris. Not all of them, but a lot of them, because you can tell because they look fairly grizzled. I mean, these are not paladins in the traditional sense. They are bearded guys in scraps of armor with very much utilitarian weapons. This is not a glory detail. These are guys who are hardened fighters, and while they may be religious fighters, they're less Knights Templar and more Knights of sticking it to the man kind of thing. Obviously, very religious, and Flashheart, you would see them, engaging in various services, and there are various kind of like priestly blessings that are going on. But these are rough and tumble kind of guys. Most of them have been living in Kenebris for a long time, fighting in the Crusades. They're drawn from a variety of mercenary companies and various kinds of religious orders that had taken casualties. I mean, we talked a little bit about in the email about how Queen Gallifrey, and to a even greater extent, Irabat and Terrorblade, was putting together new units out of the detritus of old units. This is very much in that keeping. This is a new unit that has a lot of people who were obviously in units that have been destroyed. So they are rough and tumble fellows. And Geyer comes up to you, especially Flashheart, and he says, he sort of looks sideways at the rest of the party, and he says, Geyer Windle, reporting for service as your lieutenant. The troops are ready for your inspection, sir, before we depart.
Okay, well, I'm going to throw my paladin-y good looks and stern charm to try to make them at least that I cut a good figure. Hopefully, whether I can lead them or not remains to be seen. But I'll try to look the part.
Do you pick charisma check or diplomacy check?
Oh God! Don't make him roll dice. They're going to abandon us.
Well, I have a higher bonus to diplomacy. Is it a even roll?
Yeah.
All right.
Whatever you think.
I'll diplomacy. 1 moment, please.
Feel a 1 coming on.
I know. They start attacking me.
They won't attack.
I'll have my cloak billowing out behind me. I'll have radiance pulled and going up and down the lines, trying to look at what's his name in front of the battle. Not great, not horrible.
So 13. Well, nobody spits, but you definitely see a little bit of sneering going on in the ranks.
All right.
Nevertheless, you can see Geyer who frankly puts a stop to it. So as you're sort of walking inspection, going back and forth, and like, where are you from, soldier? And they go, I'm from Darrison. And you go, never heard of it. And
only 2 things come from there: gnolls and trolls.
And you don't look like you have hooves. So there's a little bit of like rebel in the back, and Geyer puts a stop to it almost immediately. You're not sure that you've won over Geyer, but he's definitely all about discipline, and he puts them back in their place.
I will announce
any
to the
any wiggling is very much suppressed.
I will announce to the fellowship here that I am confident this will be the Salvation Army of Dresden. Army of Salvation.
These are the guys. All right.
These are the guys.
With that, there's obviously supporters come out. Irabet comes out and shakes each of your hands and says, "I trust you will do well. You have my blessing. I'm going south to assist the queen in the fight. But do well, and remember that I'm in your debt for bringing my wife back to me." And she hugs several of you, shakes hands with the rest, and it says, "May Iomede's blessings be upon you." And she just departs. And so Geyer comes to you, is like, "Should we move out, sir?"
Make it so, number one. Yes, let's move out.
Move it out! And all of a sudden, everything starts moving out, and you begin.
We have all our
moving
supplies,
north
right?
Out of Canebris. Yes, you have your supplies, and you have the supplies that Guerm has brought too.
Cool. Excellent.
All right, so let's. So you guys move out, and frankly, for the first part of the trip, you move through fairly tranquil country. There's, there's here and there. There's there's evidence of looting. There's evidence of some burned down farmhouses and that stuff. But it's not demonic. It's not demonic. It is more of like people who left, who were chased out of Canebris, who were searching for anything they could find, and they had to take up some things. You do see farmers in the fields, although they are rare. In the distance, you can see livestock far to the east. But as you move the full day under march, not march, but as cavalry, frankly, it looks pretty good until you start getting closer to Vala's Gift. You get within about 4 miles of the town, and things begin to change. The air seems drier, the soil redder and dustier. Plants begin to give way to this sort of sandy soil that has just a few scrub brushes and stuff like that. In the distance, you see black birds flying around, perhaps crows over a corpse. And as you reach Vala's Gift in the late afternoon, you notice that there are no fires burning in this little small village, which would normally be the case in the late afternoon. Cook fires, heating fires, washing.
Before we bring the army in there, I think we should send some scouts up front. Is anybody volunteering of the fellowship to?
Well, the army itself has some scouts. Do you want to dispatch them?
I want to dispatch them, but I would like one of the players to go too, just to get a first eye view.
Okay, who's going to go?
If nobody's interested, then I won't do it. But
you'll go yourself.
Yeah, Dan, I thought you'd be into it, or
I'm totally willing. Just waiting for a moment to slip that in there.
All right.
All right. So you and Dan are going to go. Does anybody else want to go?
Up to?
Sure.
Farina, you're to go as well?
No, Farina asked with her eyebrow raised, "What are you up to?"
Oh.
The village does not look like populated at the moment. There's no smoke fires. There's no signs of life. And before we drag the whole group in, probably want to find out why.
It's about 6 p.m. The sun is beginning to go down. Is normally, those of you who have knowledge local or knowledge village, I guess, would know that this would be the start. There would these little villages on the out in the hinterland, they always have fires going. Wood fires, cooking fires, smoking fish, that kind of stuff. This one does not. As you approach, the sun is going down, and as you approach, and you're still quite a few miles away. Like 2 or 3 miles away.
How long will it take the army to get there? Will they get there before sundown or no?
Oh yeah, they'll get there before sundown.
Okay, so I won't tell them to stop, but we'll ride ahead to see what's what, so we don't walk into an ambush or something.
Otto and Farina will go with you.
Okay.
Okay.
Let's.
You guys range out ahead. And as you approach the town, you realize that the town that you'd hoped would be there to provide resources is in large part not. The reason you don't see cook fires is most of the buildings have already been burned down. There are corpses in the streets, but it seems eerily quiet.
All right, so we'll split our scouts into 3 groups and just do a quick scout around. If we see anything hostile, try not to engage and report back.
You don't find any live villagers. Now, this is a small village, maybe 200 people. You're not sure that there are 200 corpses in the streets, but there are corpses in the streets. Obviously, they put up a fight. If you look at it, there are. But in general, what you see is a place that, frankly, you're like, well, we missed the battle here. Your guess is that all this happened a week ago, maybe less, but it's done now.
All right, so I will send back a rider to let the army know what we found, and then I will start a burial detail on the villagers and clean up as much as we can before the rest of the army gets here. There's no reason to demoralize
Well, there's
them
no
more.
villagers here. I mean, you just come with
bodies.
a few scouts, maybe a half dozen scouts.
Right. So I send one back, and the rest of us will.
You put them to work.
I'm not speaking for the party members, but I'm speaking for
there
myself
are
and the
dozens
NPCs.
of bodies, and frankly, the reality is you're not going to be able to get these buried
No, we're just gonna drag them to one place
before they show up.
Basically, I was just saying we're gonna start gathering them so we don't lying around, so we can start burying them. No reason to have disease and lack of morale, roaming through our army.
So say, how are they killed?
It looks like in many ways either sword strikes or with some sort of blade, or many of them have been clawed apart. You see evidence of them being bitten. You see claw marks. You see some of them have been torn apart. But a lot of them were killed by blade weapons, curved blades.
Let me ask this also, this close to the rift, is there any SOP in terms of dealing with burials? Like, is there a chance these suckers are going to come back as undead? I'm assuming if they've been laying out here for weeks, then no chance these bodies are coming back to
your guess is they've been here 4 or 5 days.
Okay.
They haven't come back yet.
Would fire be a better choice than burial?
Well, give me a knowledge religion check.
Okay. Well, I'm only a paladin. Let's see.
And anybody who has knowledge religion or knowledge military strategy or anything remotely like that, you can give me a thing too. 13, you're not sure. Frankly,
I know. Whatever it is, I know the answer. Oh, Lothar knows more than me.
Lothar knows more than you.
Imagine that.
Yeah, exactly. So Lothar, you would know that burying these people in the ground, even with the demonic thing, would not immediately make them undead, but it would if the demons found out about this place and one of them was a necromancer, it basically is a reservoir of raw materials. So it depends on what you want to do. They would have to know about it. If they didn't know about it, then they would be buried safely.
So we can't sanctify the area with the holy folks in this group? We'd have to...
I guess Lothar, can you sanctify an area?
No, I can't.
Can we...
I would suggest Viking funeral.
Okay, let's burn them up. So we could gather some materials to start doing that once we gather the bodies.
All right, so some of the broken down houses and things like that, you're going to take some of their stuff and build a bonfire, like a pyre?
Yep, and then we'll...
I'm also curious...
Once the army gets set up, then we'll do a little service and have our little fire.
Okay.
I'm also curious, like,
S'mores.
the people that have been killed, have they been looted, or is it pretty much just killed and dropped, and everything that they had is just there?
Well,
I'm curious, is this a intelligent army trying to do guerrilla tactics, or is this just
some of their weapons are there, but frankly, the weapons that you see laying on the ground are rudimentary. You're talking about like speed.
No, I'm not. Yeah, I'm not looking for looting. I'm looking to figure out who did this. Is this an animalistic just waste everybody, or is this
Give me get survival.
Stayed alive this long.
No, I mean like knowledge survival. Like it's a skill.
Yeah,
Survival skill.
I know.
You're just messing with me now, aren't you?
Yeah. Here,
Thanks.
let's see if my massive survival skill will help me with this.
Or anybody that has survival? Yeah, that's not going to help you. You're not sure. Does anybody have higher than that?
I think I do.
Yeah, I was you were my go-to on that one.
Yeah, I've got decent survival.
All right, give me a roll.
Am I with them?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you're in the towns. Yeah, absolutely.
You came with us, didn't you?
Yeah, she did. 24. Okay.
Very good.
A little better than mine.
So as you look around, so Farina, and you're actually talking with Ilindar about this kind of stuff. You look around and you realize that there has been some looting, although frankly this village did not strike you as the kind of place that would have shitloads of gold bars down in the basement. What you notice though is two separate kinds of wounds. So on one hand, most of the people here that you find that are dead were killed by slashing weapons, and from your point of view, you suspect that they were curved blades of some sort,
Like a glaive?
like a glaive or a scimitar, some sort of curved, sharp blade.
It was mud back from the abyss.
Not a lot of puncture wounds, a lot of slashes. The others, and this is a minority, but they are noticeable. They look like they have been, for lack of a better term, rended. Claws and teeth. In some cases, the bodies have been ripped open. In some of those cases, organs are missing, and there may be even some obvious, gnawing of the musculature. So you have two different things happening. You have, in one case, you have people being killed by curved bladed weapons. On the other, you have people being killed by claws, teeth, and being partially eaten.
I'm going to share that with, Ilindar, obviously, and anyone that's around me. I'm going to also ask Otto to see if he can scent out what that might have been, whatever animal that might have been.
Okay, so Otto does that. One of the things that you do notice, and both of you notice at the same time, is that there are far fewer bodies in town than you realistically expect to be population. You find maybe 50 bodies. Your understanding is that this town had a population of 200 to 250.
So they could be looking at a captive group that's been
men
taken
and
from the
women and
town.
children, or is it all men, or is it?
No, it's men, women, and children.
Okay, so it's
I think you're talking about the bodies, right?
yes.
Otto have any idea what creature he smells?
So Otto smells. The best he can tell you is like otherworld demons, otherworld creatures here.
Okay.
Potentially, we could have a large group of humans that have been, or a large group of people that have been captured and are being taken to the world center, right?
Well, from experience and having talked to a variety of people that the demons are very much about taking slaves. They do a lot of sacrifices. They do a lot of slavery. It's certainly well within the realm of possibility that the majority of this town was captured and taken away.
Who's our best tracker?
Sacrifices or food.
Yeah, who's our best cat?
Farina, probably.
Yeah.
Farina, just as a side, that's basically what happened to my character early on. So I have a personal affinity for trying to help out people who are going to be used as food. So if you could at least see if there's any possibility we could track them.
I'm sure we could track them, but is that how you want to spend our resources now?
No, I think we don't know how far they're ahead. They're probably way out of our range, but we can at least send word back to Tenebris, if nothing else, about them.
Can Otto tell how long they've been gone?
Yeah, Otto gives
They're probably
you
not
the
on
impression
horseback,
of,
so they're probably.
5 days, maybe 6. He talks about it in terms of sleeps.
Yeah.
5
But,
sleep, maybe 6 sleeps.
I'll share that with him.
But but we're on horseback and they're on foot.
Well, you don't know.
We can assume less unless they brought a ton of wagons that.
Well, maybe they flew
walk
them out on Vrox or something. Who knows?
Well, then there would be anything to track.
Yeah, there would be some tracks. So, is Farina, are you gonna like look around for like tracks leading away?
I can do that to get our.
Give me a survival roll.
Okay, hang on.
And after that survival roll, we'll take a brief break while I go pee.
Dun, dun, dun. Oops.
13. Yeah, you walk around. There's a lot of tracks outside, sort of on the periphery of the village, but there's so many and so muddled. Frankly, it's difficult. It's very difficult for you to come up with anything that makes any sense.
I can't even tell which direction they went, huh?
No, I mean not really. There's tracks going in all directions. And I'll be right back.
Okay. Well, I think we should, if we can't.
Better.
Okay. It's time for commercial break.
Yeah.
Remember, if your Medal of Valor lasts more than 4 hours, consult a healer.
Yeah.
Andrew, are you a long-time gamer?
Demon's got Andrew.
Yeah, I'm a sort of long-time sort of gamer.
Off and on?
Oh, what?
Off and on kind of thing?
More off than on. It's been a long time, so I never was with a group that was cohesive and ongoing. But I've always enjoyed RPG type games. So whether it was D&D or Infocom or Westnoth or whatever.
What?
So roundabout way of saying very splattered, like a Pollock painting.
You felt the call, just like the Highlander, right? Are you looking to pull
The
back?
only time I felt the call ended with a flush.
The first time I ever gamed, the first party I hung out with for a few years, Andrew was one of the players, one of my friends. So it's kind of fun to have an Andrew watching tonight.
All right.
I was 14.
I'm a voyeur, and I'm glad you're good with that.
Absolutely. We welcome spectators anytime. So ultimately, the army rides down into Vala's Gift. You guys are already building pyres for the dead. Blessings to them. They come in, and obviously, you can tell that people are a bit taken aback by the fact that they expected there to be a village here, and there's no village here. But it also steals their resolve that this is the right thing to do.
I'm going to consult with my second in command for this army and just tell them we can't find clear tracks, so I don't think it's worth sending a party to retrieve or try to track them. But maybe sending a pair of soldiers back to
If they've got any
Nebris.
do better than us.
Yeah, maybe sending back. They can do divination or something back at Canebras to see if they can locate the villagers.
Okay.
Or see if there's someone in the army that,
We're not carrying like passenger pigeons or anything, right? Oh yeah,
No.
I see what you're saying, Mike. You're saying that
So
somebody here might be
Ravens, you're
better.
gonna send a raven?
Yeah.
No ravens. You have to actually like truck a guy back, and it'll take a day. I mean, a guy on horseback will take a day.
I figure we got a bunch of Hmong in a cage. We just send them underground, scurrying back.
There you go. Caged Hmong.
Caged
Caged Hmong. I saw that on Cinemax one time. All right, so Vala's Gift is a mess, but yeah, I mean, you guys, the army comes blowing in and begins to set up camp. Do you guys do anything special or anything like that?
I said we look around. If the village is gone, we need to look around for anything supplies-wise that we can take with us.
Okay.
And maybe see if we can find survivors that have been hiding.
Go ahead and do a perception check. Anybody who wants to. Jeez Louise, dude.
I see it all.
Seriously? All right. So Illindar basically fuckifies anybody else doing a perception check.
Don't bother.
Thanks, Illindar, for ruining it for everyone. So a couple of things. One, you find 2d4 units of food. amongst the various places of the aspect of the village. So go ahead and roll 2d4, and we'll write that down.
Is somebody keeping track of the amount of food? I didn't think
I
they
am
keep track of it. I mean, somebody legit and honest.
Some of the-
That hurts me.
I know.
4
I heard
units
that
of
loud.
food. All right, so we'll deal with this in a second. So yeah, everybody sort of beds down. You get the impression, and they set pickets and things like that. There are watches and stuff, so you feel relatively safe. But you basically, what you guys feel from this village is that whatever happened here, it happened before, like a week ago, and they're gone. This is a done place. You do find some stuff. So let's talk about the mass combat rules. Did you guys get a chance to look those over?
No.
Yeah, I started reading through them.
Did you? Okay, so I'm going to bring up here. Where's it? Wow, is it? Bring me your thing. Yeah. All right, here we go. So I'm just going to go to the thing.
I had questions right away about what a couple of those acronyms meant because I wasn't sure.
Right. All right. Yep.
The idea of reading mass combat rules on a weekend is like pulling my fingernails off.
I was loving it. It's Father's Day. I was just like, look, they're like, what do you want for Father's Day, Dad? And I was like, I just want to take some time and read the mass combat rules. That's what I want. And $1 million. No, so this is a stat block for the army that you have. They're called the Knights of Kenebris. You could probably rename that. But they are essentially a lawful good medium army of humans, Paladin 4. They have hit points. They have a defense value. They have an offensive modifier. They have tactics, resources, special attacks, a speed, a morale, and a consumption level. So a couple of things happen. So an army this size consumes 5 units of food and water a day.
Not ours, because you said ours is lower.
I'm getting to that. I'm getting to that. So so there are a couple of things that have changed that. The first thing is you guys went to Horgus Worm, and he decided to provide a variety of supplies to you. What that does is it cuts your consumption down from 5 to 3. Now, this is on a daily basis. So you guys consume 3. In the meantime, you went to the Flashheart's church, the ones that hate him, and they provided 9 units of food. You found 4 more units, which is 13 units, that can be helpful, and you have 50 units of food that you left with. So right now you're at 63 units of food at a daily consumption rate of 3. That gives you about 21 days of food and water. You kind of thing. When you run out of food and water, you start having to put yourselves on rations. It's
People get grouchy.
People get grouchy, and bonuses go away. So in this case, you
legitimately, we're only like we're less than 10 days out from our target, right? Unless we go way off course.
Theoretically, yeah. You're less than 10 days, probably 5.5 to 6 days out.
Plus, yeah, and I guess there's return time too.
Well, here's the thing. There's return time and there's siege time. You're going into the world wound. You don't know that you're going to be able to find any more resources. Frankly, Horgus providing those goods and services, and you guys finding stuff on the way, that's going to help you a lot. 21 days. It's 5 days there, 5 days back. That realistically gives you 10 to 11 days of siege that you can do before you have to leave. Here's where we get into like siege weaponry and stuff. I mean, it's like you go back to the idea of attacking a citadel or a castle. It's very difficult, and it usually is treachery that does it.
Do we have any idea how many people are in it now?
No idea.
Hire 100 paladins. Maybe we need the less hungry crew.
Oh wait, how many people are in your army?
No, how many people are in the citadel that we're attacking? How many
You don't have
defenders?
any ideas.
Yeah, we assume lightly populated because they all went south, but we have no idea for sure.
One high-powered demon can knock out 100 paladins in an hour, or less.
The reality is the paladins are to keep the armies, whatever armies are there, busy while you guys infiltrate the citadel. That's the plan. Once you guys get the Sword of Valor, you bring it out, you activate it in whatever way needs to be activated, then the worm will turn. Now these guys, I mean, the guys that you are with, the army of 100 paladins, they are tough monkeys. They are proven fighters. They are not glory paladins. These are fighting paladins, and they have fought hard. So these are not guys that are used to parades. They're used to slugging it out with demons. So they are tough.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, this is it. So expert flankers, a standard withdraw. They have resources including improved armor, include weapons, which includes masterwork cold iron weapons. They have mounts, and they have ranged weapons. They have courage, positive energy, divine health. All of these things are captured in the rules and can be beneficial to you.
Hey, Les, as a hunter, can Farina not help support the army?
You could, but one person amongst 100 is not going to be able to deliver a lot of support. The reality is, these guys know what they're doing, and you'd probably be more valuable supporting your party rather than supporting the army.
I tell Flashheart if push comes to shove and he needs help, I'll do what I can to defeat his army. After ourselves.
Sorry, that was a little low. When push comes to shove, you'll do what? I couldn't.
I'll do what to help support feeding your army.
Okay.
Time gets long as long as we come first.
Of course.
All right,
we put the P in NPC. So the player part. I don't know. That was a non sequitur. I'll work on my material.
Yeah, please. All right, so your army spends the night in Vala's gift. Nothing of note happens. You actually get quite a bit of sleep. The guards do not see anything off in the distance, and you begin the long trek to the ford. Villareth Ford is one of the northernmost crossing points on the Selen. There are few settlements and no fords or bridges that are farther north from here on the Mendev side of the river. It was named for a Crusader general who first held this fort against a host of tiefling cultists eager to use it as an invasion point. What you are told is that it's typically been watched over by a small contingent of Crusaders, but you haven't heard anything for a long time. You assume everything's okay, though, because no news generally means everything's fine.
Yeah.
Just like the village we just went.
Exactly. Well, this village, I mean, one of the things is the village is pretty far south. So this is not something that you guys have seen a lot of, but it does happen.
We were clear that I sent 2 guys back, right, to Canebras. Let them know.
About the village? Yeah. No problem.
Okay. I want to make sure that we got that cleared. Thanks.
So first night, you get it to be about halfway, a little more than halfway to Villareth Ford. You have to camp. Any particular logistical things that you want to do?
Nothing comes to mind.
All right. So the army will set up its own watches, and they will also set themselves up in a little bit of ramparts from a. The reality is that they stop pretty early in the afternoon, probably around 3:30 or 4 o'clock, so they can dig in and create sort of this little bit of fortifications. You guys are within those fortifications, and frankly, this close to the World Wound, it is you feel quite a bit safer knowing that these guys are on point.
I'm going to say that at least for the player characters, since we have a big army around us, we don't necessarily have to set a normal watch that we would set for the party, but I'm going to suggest that we have be part of somebody's always awake when for watch.
Karina's going to want to stay as awake as she can.
Me too.
Okay.
Bardos is always awake, so he'll definitely be looking.
Okay.
Be
So
out there,
we'll just do we'll set our watch in between ourselves. So each of us take like a 3-hour shift or whatever.
Okay, cool. So you guys help them out, and frankly, you do not see anything. In fact, if anything is the case, you are surprised by the barrenness of this region. You're close to the world wound, so the soil has a certain cast to it. The plants are dying. You don't see very many animals at all. You see hardly any birds flying around here. It's a bit eerie, but you do not have any attacks, or nobody notices anything untoward throughout the course of the night. So you wake up the next day and begin moving again toward Villareth Ford. Any particular thing that you guys want to do as far as scouting or anything like that as you guys approach the fort?
This is the last stop, the fort, or this is the one with the bridge, right?
This is the bridge. This is the last stop to get across the river, which you have to do.
Once we get
Done, and she's
Go
going to
ahead.
take cat form with Otto, which I can do. So I'm going to become another black leopard,
So we got 2 Black Panthers running around.
running up front.
Black Panther Party.
We'll stay about, I don't know, a quarter mile in front of them.
Okay.
And
Scout out.
yeah, can I just use the same stealth that Otto has if you have us do any kind
Sure. Give me a stealth check and then give me a perception check.
My stealth or Otto's stealth? Both of us independent?
Whichever is better.
Ooh, I like that about you less.
26. That's pretty good. That's the stealth, right? And a 29 perception. Did I have those right? You guys move forward. You've left the paladin scouts sort of behind you, clanking away, that kind of stuff. You're like, these guys are too loud. You, Farina, you switch into Black Panther form, and you and Otto truck out into the wilderness, cutting through the various kind of underbrush, like
Off the beaten path, yeah.
yeah, hot knives through butter. You get close to Villareth Ford, and you think that something is wrong.
What? Everything's been going so smoothly.
There's no
hear-
way something can be wrong.
You hear cheering. You smell fires, and those fires are tinged with the coppery smell of blood.
All right. Well, maybe we might have found our villagers, guys. Let's. So, do we? Sorry, you said there's a scouts out that are reporting back on this.
The scouts are behind. The Panthers just flankily move.
I know, but
faster.
we have horse scouts too. Oh, yeah, the Panthers report back because they're
They
out
still
further.
move faster. So the Panthers
Okay.
are there first, but the horse scouts are back a little ways.
Well, whoever reports first, then I think we'll send a stealthy group in to try to eyeball the situation.
In the meantime, what do you guys do, Jennifer?
We'll keep journeying on until I can see what's going on.
All right, so you're scooching closer. All right, so give me another perception check. 32. Geez Louise. All right, so you crawl very close to the fort. So the fort itself is a stone bridge on the Roman model. There are a variety of open spaces outside. There are some stone buildings. These seem to be relatively intact. What you do notice is that there is a pretty substantial group of tieflings who have set up some sort of blocking on the bridge. Now, as you're watching, you see several of the tieflings break off from the main group. They go over to one of the stone buildings. They go inside. They come back out almost immediately, and they're holding a elven man in chains. He's in manacles, and they drag him forward. He's obviously very much worse for wear. They take him out to the bridge, where they're all sort of sitting around, and they force him to his knees. They very weirdly they put him they scooch him over to next to the edge of the bridge, and then you see this one guy come out. He's got the head of a goat. It seems to be very large and muscular. He reaches out his hand. And in it is placed a long scimitar. This elvish man is sort of like, what are you? You could almost hear you could see his mouth moving. You could almost hear the voices, and you could see this goat-like guy just sort of step back, and he's just like, whoop, and he takes his head right off. The head goes whirling into the river. And starts floating down the thing, and all the other people, the tieflings are cheering, and they grab the headless body, which is still glurting blood, and they chuck it over the side, and they're like, and he hands the scimitar back and goes back to some place in the crowd and that kind of stuff.
Not good.
But it was definitely an elf, and he definitely looked like he had Crusader garb on. Armor was obviously covered in blood and that kind of stuff, but armor and a tabard, obviously with the sign of Iomedae.
That was supposed to be a garrison here, right?
There was a small garrison at Villareth Ford, yeah.
Okay.
How many tieflings are on the bridge?
Okay, that I would say 200. I mean, not so much on the bridge, but just in general, spread around. You think maybe 200, but then you're thinking, this might be something for an army.
Are there structures here on this side of the bridge, or only on?
There are structures on both sides of the bridge, but you do spot a pretty wide open area where it looks like that the tieflings have put up some tents and stuff. Frankly, in your opinion, and you're not like a soldier, but in your opinion, if you were going to attack these tieflings on open ground, there's a couple of places where you could possibly do that. That said, it's possible you might be able to ambush them. They don't know you're there.
I think a little bit of both, actually. Call them one way and then bring the rest of the heavies in. Who's my second in command in this party? Ulfin?
Geyer. He's Geyer.
Geyer.
He's an Ulfin. He was friends with that dwarf that did not like you.
Geyer.
But he volunteered for this thing. So he's like, yes, Lord Flashheart, what can I do for you?
You hear that, Flashheart?
Yep. I tell him that I want him to make me a coffer dam full of tieflings.
Well, so, I mean, does the intelligence come back to where you guys are? Because you guys are not quite there.
Yeah, I guess I'm waiting to hear. Jennifer has inferred that she's passed it back. Is that right?
Yeah, I retreated back, and I give that information to Flashheart.
Okay. Flashheart, you give the information to Geyer. What do you say?
Okay, I give it to him. I think we can do a full-on assault. But we have some grizzled veterans here. What they got something a little more crafty in mind that we could pull maybe I'm thinking maybe from the party here we provide a stealthy assault to get the party going, and then they bring in the heavies in to make sure none get away.
Oh, well, he opens up a parchment with a rudimentary map. It says, "Look, the terrain around here is we could probably get close to them if we had to." One thing that we have is longbows, which means we could open up with archery beforehand and then close with melee. If it was my call, I would try to sneak up as close as we can, unload an archery volley, and then close with melee on this open space near the ford. We don't want to be fighting on an angle, and it will bring our strengths to bear. You say it's about 200 tieflings?
Yep. That's what it says. That's the report. 200.
I suspect these men are more than a match.
I want a few prisoners to question to see if we can find any. They have any insights on what lays ahead of us or to the fate of the villagers. But Other than that, I believe they should be dispatched with swift justice in the name of Iomade.
I will see that the men have those messages.
Okay, and then for the party here, do they? You know, we're our own crafty group that are not necessarily affiliated with the army. Do we want to go assault with the army, or do you guys want to do your own thing? We got mass assault rules right here.
Well, it's definitely you suspect it's an army job.
Okay. To that, can we? Were you envisioning that we each lead a small unit, as player characters, like each squad, or you're saying that we're a squad of our own thing that we're going to be rolling for? You see what I'm saying? Are we spreading out amongst the army to make rolls for the army, or are you saying that we should be our own unit inside the army to make a mass roll as the party?
I think in this case we're talking about a mass battle. So you are leading from behind, but you can arrange for your paladins to attack the tiefling army at the ford. In ways.
None of this.
Yeah.
None of this have fly yet, right, guys? Nobody has fly or something that gets over a river.
Until next level.
I'm thinking that since they're standing on a bridge, we don't want them getting across the bridge and getting away either. But there's no.
Well, they already control it. They control the bridge.
Wait, so is it a ford or is it a bridge? That's two different things.
Well, it's a ford with a bridge. Shallow area. No, it's not stupid. It's a shallow area that has a pretty substantive bridge. It's not high. It's not like a 20-foot high bridge. It's maybe 4 or 5 feet off of the river. But there is a bridge there.
Is my siege master available? I just want to ask him to see, is there anything he can bring to bear to keep two things. Questions: do you have any other smaller forts that a small force can get around them to make sure we cut off escape?
Well,
or is there something you can do to clear the bridge with a siege weapon to keep them busy from trying to escape?
He doesn't have either of those. I mean, he's like, obviously cutting them off would be good, but with the river here and the one cross, we would have to punch through that pretty quickly. As far as building a siege engine here to destroy that bridge, it would take me 2 to 3 days.
Okay. Well, we don't think we want the bridge destroyed. We got to cross it first. So I was just trying to find a way to a ballista or something that keeps them from wanting to mass on the bridge. But that's it. All right. Let's do this. So, as I understand it, we're gonna drop a group off for longbows. Then we're gonna bring the heavies in for mass assault, and then for these spellcasters and whatnot in this.
Yep, that's how it works. So we are now dropping out into mass combat. So a couple of things. What we have is some phases, right? So you have the first phase, which is the tactical phase. The second is the range phase, and the third is the melee phase, and that's each round. There's a couple of things. The way this works is each army rolls a d20 plus its offensive modifier versus the defensive modifier of the attacking army, and it happens simultaneously. So we're just going to go ahead and look at what the tieflings are bringing to bear. All right, here is our matchup today. The Knights of Kenebris and the Tiefling Army.
In this corner. Weighing 150 knights.
All right, so here's the deal with this. So when you talk about army battles, you're talking about the offensive modifier versus the defensive value. And the difference is the damage. So let me give you an example. Say, let's just say we're fighting right now, and you guys roll to attack the Tiefling army. You get a +8 against their DV of 12. I rolled a 22. That means that they take 10 points of damage. Now, they also simultaneously roll against you, which means they have a +4. They're rolling against your DV of 18. This is a miss. They do not do any damage. Does that make sense?
Yep. That was the first round, right?
No, it was not the first round. That was a lovely example. So a little bit different from regular damage is the difference between the DV and the roll is the damage. There are crits, but we don't have a crit chart. What happens with crits is you confirm the crit and you get double damage if you get a crit. If you get a fumble and confirm the fumble, you lose your next. You do no damage and you lose your next turn. So remember that these turns are all simultaneous. So what do you guys want to do? So tactically, you have some options, right? You are expert flankers. You can withdraw.
You just call us flankers.
Flankers, yeah.
Hmm.
What did you expect me to call you?
How do you account for individuals in this list? Is there any way
You
to?
don't. In these rules, you don't count for individuals. Other than there are certain individuals who can deliver pluses or minuses, but in this case, we don't have any of those. Other than the like the leaders. Okay.
I'm going to pull Fletcher aside and just ask him I personally charging him with that, bringing me the head of that big knoll here that just executed that elf.
It would be my pleasure if I can find.
All right.
Be gentle. Use your teeth if you have to. All right.
That'll be fun. All right. So how do you guys want to go at these guys? I mean, they don't know you're coming. So you guys do have a couple of things. One, you have you have the terrain to your advantage, but two, you could also sneak up on them and unload with range weapons because you have range weapons, which they do not have.
I would say since we don't, I mean, that's my. I'll put it to the vote here, but as
we go with
that
what's
gives us an advantage. Let's use that and then rush.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Thin them out a little bit. Anybody want to take? We know there's a potentially prisoners in a shack or something here, right? We might want to send a little commando group to try to defend, to take and defend a shack, free the prisoners.
Yeah, there is that little stone building, and there's that's where they've been pulling people out of.
Right. Anybody want to take that mission?
That might be where the goat-headed guy is.
Well, I think he was on the bridge executing people, but I think the tieflings pulled a bunch of people out of that building. Am I right, Les?
That's correct. Well, the only thing that you've seen is they pulled one person out and they killed them.
Okay. Yeah, I'm drawing conclusions here just based on what I know.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm willing to go and head over to that building.
Okay.
Because that might get me closer to my target anyway.
Okay.
Maybe take a few guys with you to secure the building. If indeed prisoners are there.
Yeah, maybe a couple of the scouts.
Yep. Hopefully we have enough bodies on the ground by that time they can arm themselves with whatever is available.
Okay. So he's going to go that way. You guys are spying from up top. What are you guys going to do? Because pretty soon you're going to be stomping around and they're going to notice.
Are you, I think I've already said what I'm going to do and what I asked the army to do. Are you asking what everybody individually is going to do?
No. I mean, if anybody has anything individually that they want to do, certainly now is the time to bring it up. What I'm asking you is, at what point do we commence the battle of armies?
Yeah, we're just
That's what I want.
We're gonna have our guys sneak up and do the first volley of longbow fire, and then they're gonna close and attack, right?
Yeah, I'd say maybe get Fletcher and the commando group towards the stone building prior to that, just so they're in closer range.
Just speaking from a pure game mastering point of view, I don't think our individual characters have anything to do with this fight.
They really do not.
Okay.
This is all about the mass combat. So
I say volley and then all out assault.
yeah, I'd say volley and then melee attack. I mean,
So the 100 paladins are going to step out of the scrub brush and their impromptu hiding spaces. They're going to bend their long bows back, and they're going to be like, and all these arrows are going to flood the sky as they come back down.
100 arrows are going to fall down, and then they're going to pull out their shield and sword, and then rush them and kill the rest of them.
All right, I need a D20 plus 8 ranged against the DC of 12.
You want me to roll it? Or are we gonna? How about we take turns, guys? I'll roll the first one, but let's take turns rolling this as we go through, so everybody gets a chance to be the hero or the goat here. Deal? Here we go. Oh, all right.
18 is easily the arrows go slamming into them, and begin to take casualties. You can see demons falling away out of the ranks as these guys are charging you. Go ahead and roll 18 again. Oh, all right. So 18 against 12. That's 6 damage. You see tons of demons falling from the vicious archery attack that you guys have just done. You see the guys starting to put their bows away, and they're like, now.
Yep. Go.
Kill them a lot.
They are like, Yomade, fuck you guys, and they go running out. 100 paladins, just like running towards the thing. The tieflings who are still remaining, sort of like pull out their curved swords, and they're like, "Bring it on, you paladin scum!" And they just like clash, like right in the middle. All right, so there's no initiative. You guys roll your OM, D20 plus your OM. I roll mine, and we trade blows.
Our OM is what again? It was
offensive modifier.
Right. But what's ours? I mean, what's
yours?
Is
+8, mine is +4.
+8. That's right. Okay, so I thought it was just for archery. Okay.
It's the same.
Okay. Somebody else want to take a roll?
Oh, I roll a 19, which is better than what you have. My tieflings are killing you guys.
Oh no!
Who wants to make our heroic roll response?
Special things.
Huh?
How do you activate like the aura of courage or the?
You do that in the tactical sense. If you, all of it is technically already activated as part of your stats. So in some of those things, like if you say I'm going to withdraw, that's a tactical thing and that applies. If I say I'm going to do sneak attack, that's a tactical thing and that applies. But in this case, I'm just letting her rip.
But okay. So who wants to roll for us? You want me to roll again, or is somebody else going to take the D20 plus 8? Wow, a lot of volunteers here. Okay.
We want to blame you when we fail.
Nobody wants to be the goat.
All right, I'll do it again. Oh wait, Bardos, yeah.
All right.
27 against
Nice.
12 DV. All right, so you guys come rushing out of the hills, and you stop, dismount, and just like sproing, and all these longbow arrows just fall amongst these tieflings, and they're like, and half of them are killed. Then you guys remount and are like, and charge down there into the open area where these tieflings have sort of tried to put together a bulwark. You guys just run over it. There's tieflings are just like flying everywhere. You guys are easily able to do so with to get through them with your cavalry. Eventually, you begin the mop up work, but the tiefling army has been ultimately pretty much destroyed.
Awesome. Well,
you guys have destroyed them.
And Bardos and Bardos and Farina are my heroes at the moment, making that roll for us. All right.
All right.
We get any prisoners?
You did not get any prisoners. A few of them fled to the north, but you did not capture any prisoners.
What about No Boy there?
She's done.
Dead?
Well, gone. You don't know where she is, but you assume dead.
Was there anybody in the stone cottage?
Huh? So you went to the stone cottage. There are only a handful of wounded survivors. here from the small contingent that once guarded the area. All of them are imprisoned in the stone building, and they are led by a sergeant named Camilo Don, who stands up and says, Are you from the South? Are you our countrymen?
We are. We were here to meet you guys, but looks like you got captured in the meantime, so we're here to liberate you.
Does Mendev still stand?
Mendev stands and is free.
So there's maybe a dozen people. So this Camilo, who is obviously a soldier, puts on a brave face, and you get the impression that her leadership sort of kept the other survivors from despair, even though some of them were taken away for sacrifice or worse. But they are in no shape to keep the fort protected, and they do know that a greater army lies somewhere to the north.
So they've been pressed into our army now to help replace any losses we took, and so we'll get to the commencing to the healing and the morale checking.
All right, so that becomes. Sorry, I gotta write this down.
Obviously, since that are new to the army, I'll do a quick, detect evil on each of our captives there. I doubt they had any hidden demons, but just in case.
No, you do not get any evil off of them.
Okay. Any supplies we take out the tieflings to add to our kitty?
They don't. They have nothing. There's nothing here. No, they have nothing. But you guys are still okay. They are willing to join you guys. They're willing to help out in any way they can.
Okay. Any dead we have to take care of here? Or are we pretty much healing up everybody and ready to go?
Everything seems okay. I mean, you guys are probably going to stay here for the night, certainly. I would think.
Yep. Gang, I would say that's fine with me. We'll probably want to have a
campfire.
We want to have a campfire, and we want to have enough pickets out because we know some got away, and there's a larger army up north.
Some did get away, and there is a larger army up north, which you
there could potentially be a counterattack. So we want to be ready.
Okay.
So
as
usual,
set watches. I mean, the guys will set watches and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, as normal, we'll set watches. We'll let these prisoners sleep, but the rest of the army can take turns with the watches, and then I'll be happy to take my turn to watch as well. I think Farina wanted to as well, and Bardos.
Weirdly, other than a few odd noises off in the distance, howls and things like that, you are not. Nobody assaults you or shows up. You actually sleep pretty well. There are some noises down on the horizon, but nothing approaches your camp.
Okay. Well, get along, little doggies.
Yay, we won.
Yeah, it's over. Let the credits roll.
All right, so you guys keep going upward. So you end up having to spend the night about 2/3 of the way to Keeper's Canyon before you turn left. And frankly, things are becoming more and more surreal. Everything here is blasted. It has a desert-like face on it, but every once in a while you walk by and there's like this weird kind of carnivorous flower growing nearby, or a bunch of roses that seem to be fading and growing again every 2 seconds. It's a strange place, and the effects of the world wound are obviously making things strange.
Les, would you mind putting up the map again? And all that sound in the background is not me for once.
Talking about the world wound map? Oh, I'm sorry.
Yes, please.
This map.
Yeah. Yes, that one.
Gotcha.
We're there.
No, you're about here, actually. Not quite all the way there.
Oh, the ford, yeah.
But as you go forward, I mean, the world wound itself is very surreal. You see grasslands just sort of cluster into desert. You see mesas with people on them that disappear when you look back for a second time. You see, the various kinds of creatures running back and forth on errands that you don't know what's going on.
We're just shopping.
Yeah, it's side quests.
Side quests.
Yeah, I want to find that mesa with the disappearing people. It sounds like Brigadoon. The Keeper's Canyon. Do we know anything about it?
Well, as you guys get closer, the stranger it is. You do know that it is on the West Selen River. You do know that it has been on the Keeper's Canyon has been on the World Wound sign for a while. You're not really headed into anything that's blighted, but the sky, it's weird. The sky above seems to be darker and dimmer. No vegetation grows on the ground. It doesn't feel like there's any easy way to get inland. That kind of stuff.
Well, to pass the time, I'm going to ask that sergeant that we picked up from the ford to join me and just see if we can get anything out of her in terms of how the tieflings set upon them and if they have any intel on what we might be facing up north.
Oh, she has no idea. That's all very top secret, hush hush, and they're not allowed to talk about any of that stuff. But we don't know what Keeper Canyon is not on the thing. I mean, we're talking about Dresden, which is stuff. I don't know if anything's happening in Keeper Canyon.
No, that's not what I was asking. Is like, I guess 3 questions I have. Did she see the villagers that got taken from the
she did not.
Hope? Okay. Did these tieflings come from the north across the bridge, or did they come from a different direction?
They did. They came south from what they think is their stronghold at Keeper Canyon.
Oh, so the tieflings have a stronghold at Keeper Canyon. So that's important to know. Thanks for that. And then also, we were led to believe that this would be sparsely populated by the demons because they'll be heading south, which is why we're going to assault Dresden.
There's more. There's more here than probably to the east, certainly, but they're not. It's not like there's an army of demons every place we go, but at the same time, they are ever present.
Okay,
that helps.
Okay. Well, I guess we'll want to, if we know that the tieflings came out of Keeper's Canyon and we know that there was a larger army up north, it makes sense that there's going to be more in the canyon waiting for us that'll be aware that we're coming.
Yeah. One would think. Makes sense from your military mind.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so do you guys want to move that way?
Nothing to it but to do it.
Put the bard out front. like in the last Mad Max movie, that was great. The bard on the top of on the roof of the big car with the
guitar player
and the flamethrowers. Yeah,
with the jets of flame coming out behind him.
Yeah, they had the bard. They got a +1 on that.
Totally. All right, you begin moving forward, but you know that it's a day and a half away. So one of the things that strikes you about this whole region is how dead it is. There's no birds. There's no sound. It's just hot from the sun and the strange color of the sand. When you walk in it, you can hear your footsteps in the sand, which can be unnerving, frankly. It's just a very quiet place. And as you move forward from the ford, after having killed the tieflings, you're both trepidatious and excited. You want to get to Keepers and put down whatever problem has happened there, but at the same time, you don't know what's there. And you've heard rumors about haunts in the courtyards and stuff like that.
I ain't afraid of no ghosts.
But nevertheless, you begin going towards Keeper Canyon. So I'm assuming you send out the same sort of squad of scouts?
Yes. That's kind of standard issue.
Farina, are you on the front lines of the scouts? I think I trust you and your Panther more than our NPCs.
Sort it out. I got to pee again. I'll be right back.
Somebody's been giving our Woods.
Roll stealth and perception again.
Let's go to the bathroom.
Oh.
I'll be back in a second.
But
Yeah,
yes,
saying,
have you and Otto go.
he was cleverly baiting us to see if we're taking the same plan or if we're doing anything else, changing up the game. We know this time these people are going to be knowing we're coming and probably having some sort of defense ready for us, if not an ambush. So I'm open to ideas. Otherwise, we see what's there and then use our mass combat as best as we can.
Yeah, agreed.
How often can Farina do the Panther thing?
Per day. Got to be at least every day, right?
Karina?
Might be muted.
I don't see him in the video anymore.
And we lost the video a long time ago.
4 times a day? Is that?
Oh, 4 times a day? Okay.
4 times. Oh, nice.
I'd say we keep.
Okay, I'm back.
She's going to be a lot more. She can get a lot further in front of us, and she's a lot more stealthy especially with the auto.
Yeah.
So we use that as our scout.
Well, I'd say we had the horse people behind them, and then to the sides, ranging out to the sides, looking for an ambush specifically, and then Farina and Otto up north to see what's in the canyon.
Yeah, I'd keep her 500 to 1,000 feet out in front of the scout, even the scouts.
Hey, Les, that was, we got a stealth roll first, 29, and a perception of 32.
Okay.
Farina is
Lord.
looking for a outlet mall in Keeper's Canyon. She's pretty sure there's some good deals here.
There's a J. Crew and some sort of shoe place, but other than that,
All right, we're
it's
in.
pretty small. So let me get this straight. So Farina and Otto are ranging much farther ahead than the Paladin Army scouts.
Correct.
Quarter mile.
Is anyone accompanying her, or is she just going out by herself?
Well, she and Otto are going,
I don't
and
know
then
if
the scouts are behind them,
Panthers on the move, so they're pretty
and
much.
then. And I said we're also sending scouts off to the sides because this is since they know we're coming, this is where I'd place an ambush. So
Yep.
I wanted to see if we can make sure we either flush an ambush or make sure there's not one there before we get to the canyon.
Okay. All right. So Farina, as you and I'm assuming you changed into Black Panther form as well,
Yeah, I did last.
like Otto. Okay, so you guys keep rocking through
For Wakanda.
that whole region there. 2 Black Panthers in a blasted land. You begin to approach the canyon, and you are struck by the amount of creatures there. There are a lot of creatures at Keeper's Canyon, mostly tieflings, some dretches. They seem to be building up fortifications. You see them filling sandbags and putting them up together, taking rubble out of houses and buildings and put them in together to block stuff. You see officers, apparently officers, who are yelling at the creatures, like, "Hurry up! They're going to be here soon!" That kind of stuff, and enticing them to quicker work.
So they're directly in our path. Like they know
Oh, yeah.
what's
Their
coming.
destination.
Oh yeah, you have to get through there.
There's no other way. Well, okay.
Not really. It's a natural bottleneck between the river and the canyons.
Going up over the top of the canyon. Can I explore that to see if that's a possibility?
How are you gonna get up there? I mean, you gonna fly up there, kind of thing,
No.
or crawl, or climb, or
That's fine pretty well. Let's check this out.
some of these cliffs are well over 500 feet high. It might be a bit of a needle in a haystack to find a place where there's a river or a creek cut through the canyon itself, and then go over onto the other side. It's just difficult.
Okay, so how many am I looking at? Who am I looking at? What kind of supplies do they have? How many are there? What kind of creatures?
Well, so it's obviously a bunch of tieflings, much like the tiefling army that you guys just defeated. But there are also interspersed with dretches, and they are eating to a large extent. They are eating captives.
Lovely. And how many are there?
How many of these guys?
Yeah.
There is if you look holistically, there is a there's a medium army of dretches and a large army of tieflings. So figure 300 to 400 total. 200 tieflings and another 100 dretches.
Remind me, what are dretches again? Are they undead?
No, they're demons.
They're
They're
demons.
sort of like these amorphous kind of demons. They you've run into them before.
Thought so. So this is a pretty large group, especially that's got defenses up that we're gonna have to try to assault. How many?
Well,
how many days?
defenses might be too strong a word. They're putting up some rudimentary defenses, but there's no way that they're going to put up a castle, for example, before you.
Sure.
Guys, I mean, you guys could be there in 3 hours.
What kind of weapons are they holding? Are there archers? Or are they all just bladed weapons?
They do. The dretches do have ranged weapons, but you don't get a huge vibe of like they're disciplined archers. They do have bows, but they are not disciplined archers. The Tiefling army looks a great deal like what you guys faced in the earlier encounter at that one place. They they have scimitars, they have glaives, they have bows, but they're shock troops.
Alrighty then. I'm going to retreat and feed that information back to Flashheart, our fearless leader.
All right, Flashheart, what do you think of all that?
Well, it's obviously I'd like more time to prepare, and if we had time to roll out the siege equipment, then I'd love to be able to just smash them up from afar and not risk ourselves. But I think what
Salil would tell you is that siege equipment in this case would not be helpful. I mean, a trebuchet seems great, but it would take a long time for us to build. It would take time for us to find stuff to load it with, and frankly, firing it at people is a dumb idea.
Okay.
People just get out of the way.
We just need a flamethrower.
There you go.
We are flamethrowers. We need who's
I'm pretty sure I checked my notes. I did not give you a flamethrower.
I did.
There's still catchers in party. We are flamethrowers.
That's a good point.
All right, so
as far as you can tell, they don't know that you guys are there. The army itself is pretty far back, maybe 3 or 4 miles. Otto and
Sounds like
Purina are sort of close by, but very much hidden. I mean, you're even so, you're still a fair amount away. There's a lot of people here, and they seem to be preparing for something. Like maybe somebody got away.
Right. Well, that's what we knew, that somebody got away. So these as you mentioned earlier, these are like hardened killers that we have in this group here. Can we try some sneaky, dirty fighting type of tricks?
Well, I don't know that dirty fighting is their thing. You do have some options.
Okay, I'm open. What do you got?
Well, certainly they are. They have range weapons. They have mounts, which might affect a charge. They're also expert flankers. If you can figure out how to flank these guys, let's take a look at that. Hold on for a second. So first off, they are.
Yeah, we don't have a zoomed-in version of Keeper Scanning here, do we?
Not really.
Hey.
Hold on a second. All right. So you have let's look at expert flankers for a second. So what this says is your army is skilled at surrounding the foe and distracting them at the cost of spreading out too much and being more vulnerable. You increase your offensive modifier by 2, but decrease your DV by 2 if you use it. It's a
Right.
bit like power attack.
And they have, but also we're also cavalry experts, right? So we can do the increase by 2 because they have mount resources. Because they're not mounted.
Expert. We'll see. Hold on a second.
This
So,
is-
well, what it says is you are mounted. So let's look at that. What difference that makes.
Pass out. Right. This is game time ends here.
Cavalry experts. Your army's offensive modifier increases by 2 against armies that aren't mounted. The army must have the mount resource to use this tactic.
We have that, right?
You do.
But,
You are mounted
that's
knights.
That's all upside. What you were saying basically that would be a downside as well. So I would say we take this one.
Well, yeah. I mean, you're talking about a cavalry charge essentially.
Right. But we could also, I believe, farther down on the same list here, they have a sniper support thing where we hold some units back to pepper them with arrows.
Right? You guys can do rage, but the thing is, you've only got 100 guys. There's not like
right. And
it's
we're
not
up
like
against 300.
Yeah, it's not like you can hold back anything.
So for Geyer here, do you ever think we can crush this army, or are we best to just drive them out of the spot, knowing that they're going to end up back at the castle?
Well, so he will lead forward, and he will tell you that
This is already more heavily defended than we were led to believe, right?
oh yeah, very much so. I mean, you expected to find some a small like squad, maybe a platoon of crusaders. But beyond that, you didn't expect to find any of this. Now there's 200 tieflings and 100 dretches who are covering this. It's obviously that they were sent here by some other controlling entity,
Right.
just to stop exactly what you're trying to do, which is cross over the Ellen.
Okay.
All right. So we've got 4 minutes left. Do you guys want to stop here and begin again next weekend with this battle?
Okay,
Yeah,
I'm
let's
fine
do
with
that.
that.
Is everybody
Yeah.
comfortable with that? Awesome.
Everybody
All
can
right. Mike, you're going to send me a list?
Yep.
Gordon and Jennifer, keep those hot rolls going for till next week.
All right. Andrew, thanks for sitting in tonight.
Thank you for having me.
Not at all. I hope you enjoyed what you saw. Now, it wasn't very much fisticuffs tonight. Tonight was more role-playing than anything else, but I assure you that it will devolve into a slugfest.
As long as it
very soon.
devolves.
There you
Yeah.
go.
The 3 words we like the most and hate the most are go to the chart.
Go to the charts.
Yeah. When somebody has a critical failure, we go and find out what limb got lopped off or whatnot.
All right. And that is where we will start next week. So thank you, everyone. Great gaming tonight. And I will see you in a week.
All
Night, guys.
All right.
Right on.
Later, dudes.